All right, we are live. Welcome to Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show. All right, we're on early in the day this week. We've been doing that a couple of times early in the day because we're on the horn here with someone from across the pond. And because of that, we have to do an earlier show because it's 7 p.m. over there right now on that side of the world. So if you guys share this, please, if you could, so we can get some more people in here because it is midday in the United States. And so a lot of people are still working at lunch, so we might not have a large crowd while we're live. But as you know, your people all around the world are listening in. I can already see Peter from South Africa is here. So, Peter, hey, welcome, buddy. And welcome also. If you guys could share this with anybody in your groups. Peter shared in our groups, too, because I didn't share it there. Could you, buddy? All right, guys, this is really exciting. If you guys don't know who we have here, you're looking at the thing, you can see that we have Daniel Dunn with us, and if you don't know who he is, there's a reason for that. If you read what I posted in the advertisement, the reason for that is because he is the most censored person on the freaking internet. This is no joke. Okay, since I've known this man for the last couple of years, I would lose contact with him every now and then because they would delete his Facebook page, they would delete his YouTube page, they would delete him off of everything, and he would have to make another account and try to sneak in without them realizing that it was him. And once he started posting his stuff again, then they would go after him again. This has been an effort to stifle this guy because, and if you haven't read his books, you need to take a look at those. We'll talk about those. Okay, and he's a 3-time author, and I believe he told me that he's got another book he's working on. And you need to hear what he has to say. If you've been listening to any of my shows that I've done ever, first of all, you know that I've interviewed him a couple of times. But it was a long time ago because he's been stifled for a long time. And finally, he was able to combat that and muster his energy again to fight these yahoos. And he's been able to get back on the air, and he's charging back up now to where they can't stop him now. Now he's just too powerful. Okay, but you guys need to hear, if you listen to anything that I've ever talked about, you'll know that the conversation that you're about to hear is going to be just, you're going to listen to this guy and you're going to go, what? Now I see why. These people have stifled him. So I want to welcome everybody. Welcome Daniel back to the show. I will change the camera for those of you who are not listening to this on podcast. We're not using cameras for those of you who are watching this live with video. We're going just audio here. So those of you who are listening in on the podcast, you guys won't matter because there's nothing to see. Although for those of you who have video, there is going to be stuff to see because I'm going to be running a slideshow, which I just turned on, of Daniel's quotes from his books that he has on his page that I took and put a bunch of them up here. So we'll run that periodically here while we're talking. All right, so I'm very happy to reintroduce Daniel Dunn to whoever out there that doesn't know who he is, and those of you who do and wondered where he went. He was working in the background to get himself in a position to come storming back into the world, especially on this side of the pond, because they've been trying to keep him out of the United States as much as they can, and you'll see why as we talk. So, Daniel, say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome, and welcome back. Right?
Yeah, big time. I can't believe all the stuff that actually happens to people, nowadays.
Right? Isn't that crazy? So, these guys, now, why don't you tell them about yourself because I'm sure that some of these people are hearing you for the first time. So, give them some of your background. Tell them when it all started for you. Let's just run up from the beginning. When it started for you, and then run through your books. We can focus on that for a little bit if you want as well. And then and then give them and then they censored me and knocked me off the air, and here I am, and this is what I'm all about. And let's just run with that. Okay, so start with when you first. Were you born awake, or did you wake up at some point?
Well, basically, I was always born, awake and aware and stuff, and it basically just took me my whole life to become more aware of that, that benevolent, loving God spark that's inside in each individual and stuff, that inner divine self, You know, it took me, you know, many years to realise, you know, what it actually was, and that everybody actually has that inside themselves. And it took me a long time every day, you know, through meditation, and, you know, not just every day, but on the hour as well. I always check in with my, you know, inner divine self to see, you know, the will of your true self, basically, to see what it wants, you know, what you need to do, you know, any actions you need to take. You know, is there anything that you need to know as well? That's one of the questions I always ask myself every hour and stuff. And, you know, I just generally just make sure that I have a constant relationship with my higher self, you know, because it's not an individual. Your higher self is basically you. It's the true you. You know, that inner divine spark, it exists simultaneously, you know, with your existence here within this world on the human level. It's there right now. You know, it's the part of you that's never left God, you know, and exists in that dimension all along. But as a human and a human being, you know, through my life, I had to really just look at all the different stages in my life where there's like truths and lies of different paths, and I always have to recognize which path of truth is the actual golden path, you know, to the best expression of yourself while you're within the world, that's going to bring about the strongest version of you. And it's just basically just establishing a relationship with your higher self so you can know what's truth from untruth and separate the two. And I mean, that's the big thing within this world. You know, you've got to learn to identify what is true and what isn't. And, you know, that's the only thing that people really need to develop, you know, their own discernment, you know, which is a spirituality unto itself. I mean, you know, although you've been born with a natural, you know, degree of discernment, it's one of the skills that you have to train every day. You know, you've got to train it daily. You know, you've got to make sure that that part of your, you know, yourself is stronger, and you actually put focus on that area, you know, because focus is everything, you know, when it comes to this stuff. But as for my actual, you know, YouTube journey and stuff, it started in about, basically when YouTube came out in 2006. And I just used to go on YouTube, you know, when it first came out. There wasn't many videos on YouTube in that time, and there was actually only 2 channels on there that actually dealt with spirituality and, you know, the Illuminati and stuff and occult stuff. One was a channel called Rice of 5, which is like an American guy or Canadian or something, and he just spoke lots of great, you know, wisdom and knowledge and stuff. And I just thought, you know, this is great. And I must have spent 2 years up to about 2008 just soaking up all of this knowledge like a sponge. And then there was another channel that had like Enough Respect, it was called Enough Respect, and it was one of the first like Illuminati orientated channels that dealt with like the New World Order, and later on it dealt with, you know, like 9/11 and stuff. And I just remember just thinking, you know, this is great, and you know, that's one of the first times when I actually came to understand, you know, the all-seeing eye and everything, because that was the symbol that he used on his channel and stuff. That channel, in the end, it actually got taken out and taken down, and, you know, it was obviously destroyed for, you know, all of the videos and the work that he'd done and stuff. And then I remember a bit later there was another channel called Igor Frankenstein, and it was a Russian guy, and he dealt with all the ancient history and stuff. And back in 2008 there was just me and him on the internet who dealt with ancient history. And one of my main focuses was to explode the true ancient history into the consciousness of humanity. And, you know, it's been successful because now the ancient history is everywhere. Everyone goes into it. Everyone deals with it. It's definitely exploded into the consciousness, and there's no way that, you know, Pandora is going to go back into that box, which is funny. But anyway, right. From 2008, I carried on making a channel, and I made a series, because by then I'd soaken up 2 years of pure knowledge, and by 2008 I'd come to full circle. So I realised, you know, I now had enough knowledge to be able to actually do this myself and actually be a guide for people, you know, because I learned so much. And so I created a channel called Danielofdoriaa with just 1 A, you know, Danielofdoriaa with just 1 A, not 2 A's. And I had like 5,000 subscribers, and I created loads of videos. I was doing really good, and I made like a Raising Eden series. And you know, the series, since then, it's been translated into 5 different languages. You know, it's in Russian, German, Bulgarian, English, it's in many different languages, and it's great. And that's one of the reasons why I actually wrote the Raising Eden books, the Raising Eden trilogy, because it didn't matter how many years had passed or how much work I'd actually did, people just wanted more Raising Eden still, so obviously the Raising Eden has a deeply profound effect on the consciousness, and the subconscious. So I decided to carry on with what they need, basically. So that's how the Raising Eden trilogy came along and stuff, later on. But I go back to 2008 again, and it got to about 2010, the winter of 2010, and they took my channel out for the first time, and I had to make a decision if I was going to start again or if I was just going to give up. And I just decided, because I didn't choose it willfully myself, I decided to carry on, because it's not my fault if somebody else does something to you, because it doesn't matter how spiritually powerful you are, God's not micromanaging every single little thing. It's up to you. Like, bad stuff does happen to good people, and that's because in a dimension and a world of free will, in the universe of free will, anything can happen to anybody at any time. It doesn't matter how spiritually strong you are. So you've got to make sure that your only defense really is your own knowledge, and also getting organized, because one of the sayings that I say is always, as soon as those who love peace can organize as good as those who love war, only then is peace going to reign supreme. Which it means that basically you're the one who's got to be present, and you're the one who's got to get organized against these forces themselves, and you've got to magnetize your tribe to you naturally. And the way to do that is by doing your work, doing your true work of what you should be doing. And like a cog in a machine, the machine of one, it gets pulled to you naturally, and that's what the magnetic field does. It pulls and attracts. It's got the repulsion effect of the electromagnetic field and stuff, and that's what magnetics does. It pulls and attracts things to you that are in your best interests, if that's where your focus is. If you are really living, and doing what you should be doing, then it will bring your tribe to you naturally, and you don't have to try, and it won't feel like work, when you doing all these stuff and stuff. But anyway, I'll go back to 2008 again, and it got to like 2008, and then it span on to 2010. They took my channel out, so I started again on YouTube, and then I decided to, just go from there. So I made my Danielofdoriaa channel again, and then I uploaded Raising Eden, and since then I've just been basically creating series every single year that uncovers everything. Like the original Raising Eden covered everything, and then all of my other series, they all also covered everything, and I ended up having many different series, and I must have created about 10,000 videos on YouTube altogether. But the problem is, though, if you go on YouTube today, you can't see many of my videos on there, because they've pulled all of them down. And in fact, in about 2 weeks, I have to start my main channel again, which is ridiculous, because I've been there since 2010, and I have to start again in 2 weeks' time, which is crazy on my main channel. But through them 10 years, I had like an entire network of Transcension TV channels, I called it, to be able to transcend. And I must have made about 10 Transcension TV channels, and they all got deleted as well. They've all come down one by one. And then I've had like Danielofdoriaa channels with every different number and letter changed slightly. They all came down as well. I've had like so many other channels that have just like come down all the time. And the channels, there's no warning whatsoever when the channels come down. There's no copyright strikes. It's not about copyright. I learned the copyright game like a decade ago, so I know what constitutes copyright and what doesn't and stuff. And I've made sure, very carefully that I don't infringe copyrights and stuff, which is what I do. But it doesn't matter if there's no copyright infringement, and it doesn't matter if you have copyright strikes, and it doesn't matter if you have community strikes or not, because all my channels that went down, they had no copyright strikes, they had no community guideline strikes whatsoever. I just wake up one day and the channel of over 18,000 subscribers is just gone, and you can't get it back. And if you dispute it, which I obviously did, they only also allow you to dispute once, even though it should never have gone down anyway, because there's no community guideline strikes or copyright strikes. So it's just a way basically of them allowing anybody that they can make money out of advertising and stuff, and also channels that don't go into truth, they leave all of them up. They leave all of the bad channels up, all of the channels that don't go into something educational, they leave all of them up, and they'll take all of the channels down that they actually are going into something that's needed, and something that's actually, going to teach you something that's going to change you as a being and change your life, and improve it. So most of that goes down, and it's not just truth channels that have gone down now. Back in the day, it was just myself and others who were targeted. But today, the suppression's gotten so bad, and YouTube's fallen so much, and it's changed so much that nowadays everybody's a target, and that's a bad thing. And even channels that go into like sustainable living, or tiny houses, how you can buy a tiny house and live in that and live self-sufficiently, or channels that teach you how to hunt off the land or something, or channels that teach you how to collect rainwater and stuff, or channels that go into different aspects of gardening and horticulture and stuff. Everybody can be a target at any time for no reason whatsoever, because Google as well, now they own YouTube, they just they see themselves as the truth, which they aren't. They're opposite to the truth, and whatever truth they say, they want people to go along with that and live in a make-believe, fairy tale world like the mainstream media, because that's what the mainstream is. The mainstream is a disconnection from yourself. The mainstream is fairy tales, and the whole thing is just, illusion. It's trying to get you, from a true reality and the truth, into something that's false and fake, but I mean, one of the good things was, obviously stuff like that doesn't last, but it only lasts as long as the people that are tricked into actually, going into it, actually give it their energy, because it's actually using their energy to sustain itself, and that's the whole thing about this thing. It requires your participation to actually, survive. But if you don't participate, it just wouldn't survive, right? But anyway, I'll go back into the massive epic battles that I've had that are unlike anything that anyone's ever faced really in that specific area, But YouTube.
Hold on one second. I want to apologize to some of the people out there. It looks like they're getting kicked off and coming back in. We were having some issues a minute ago where it looked like they were interrupting the signal. I think I got that handled right. But for those of you, it looks like people were getting bounced out of the show and popping back in. So welcome back, guys. And I wanted to say, Ilana, welcome. She's in Brazil, and she said hi from Brazil. So just so you know, we got people in South Africa listening. We got people in Brazil, people in Canada. The world is listening to us, and everything that you were saying is true because they were interrupting the signal slightly. But I think I got that covered now. So for those of you, if you get bumped, just come back in, guys. If something happens, just come back in. So go ahead, buddy. Continue.
Yeah, it's crazy, that they keep getting kicked out and stuff. But yeah, it generally happens, though, But yeah, I mean, really, I advise everybody, to create a YouTube channel, and if to get kicked off, if the channel gets destroyed, do what I always do, which was as soon as they delete a channel, make 2 channels, or as soon as they attack you in a specific area, do double energy into that specific area, because obviously every time you hit a barrier, it means that, life's about hitting barriers anyway, and you've got to break them all down and walk through them, But if you're getting attacked or targeted in any area, put double energy into that exact area, and not only will you become stronger, but it means that the battles that you're fighting, are worthy of a bit of your time and energy anyway, because you can use it as a catalyst, for your own awakening and stuff. And the more powerful your information is anyway, the more you're going to get attacked for it,
Absolutely.
So yeah, I just advise just keep going and just keep going through it. And for me, it's a normal way of life to always be under constant fire, and the pressures of it as well. And I mean, just the other week I lost 150 million video views, and they're not small numbers. I'm talking 150 million. A lot of people don't even get that many in a lifetime, if you know what I mean, that many people.
Well, here's another example of that. I was watching a video, David Wilcock. If any of you guys out there know who David Wilcock is, he's very popular. He on one of his shows showed people how to find out how many times your name or like my show or like you or your videos are either mentioned or have someone has a video about you. So he went and showed on YouTube that, you know, he punched in his name and it said that his name was used, I think it was like 9 million times on YouTube. So he said that on his show. The next day he looked again and he had 350,000. YouTube deleted 9 million videos that had his name in the title.
Yeah, they do that. They do that to everybody. You know, they've done it to me, you know, a hell of a lot. I mean, all in all, the last 10 years, I have reached 1 billion people altogether, you know, since I started doing my works and stuff. And my channel was getting about 400,000 views per day, and that was back in 2011. If you go to my channel today, it gets about like 500 in a day, you know. But how can that be? You know, when 2011 I was getting like 400,000 in a day, and today I'm getting 500. Come on, there's been like a decade of work since then, and it's just been getting better and better, more refined. And you know, obviously, you know, I'm used to it. You know, I'm used to it being that way. But Google always, even back in the days of Enough Respect, like back in 2010 time, you know, they were deleting his video views because many of his videos had like millions of views on them, and then Google comes along and wipes them out of, you know, back to naught again. So it comes up with like 760 views or something, and then, you know, they're taken out of the top rankings of the Google videos because the, you know, the truth videos and the conspiracy videos, right? They, although it's not conspiracy nowadays, you know, they were ranking all the #1 videos in the video spots, and, you know, Google didn't like it, so they changed it, you know, and put all of their own videos in their own, you know, paid advertising stuff there instead.
Well, that's that Luciferian, draconian, you know, elite that own everything, and they're, like you were saying before, they're trying to drive the negative narrative because they want everybody to be negative. So that's what they're doing, just like you said. They're deleting anything that's positive or educational, or making it hard on those people, and then anybody who, like, you know, posts cutting people's heads off with a spoon, they'll leave that up until somebody complains about it on the news, and then they'll go, oh, oops, and take it down. But until then, they'll leave heinous stuff on there, or people that are screaming hate speech towards different races, or, you know, burning flags for America. They'll leave all that up. They don't care. And then as soon as you go on there and say something positive, hey guys, love each other and you know, learn to, you know, meditate, then they go, oh, get that guy off there quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, basically, you know, I mean, that's the way that it's built, and it's all about, you know, creating an environment basically of fear, because in fear, you know, you're not in that creative space, so you can't create, you know, because, you know, you're too afraid to do anything really. So you need to, you know, kind of reverse that, and, you know, stay in your heart, stay centered, you know, and, you know, it's up to us to create an environment of high light, you know, high light in which we can, you know, learn, and which we can evolve, you know, together. And, you know, that's the counter to it. You know, you need to create in a space of love as opposed to fear, you know, all the time. So
right. And also, the more of us, this is why we're getting Daniel back out here, because the more of us that are thinking this way, the less they have power over you, even though you're disconnected from us somewhere else in the world. You have to remember that we are all connected, and that's what people forget. They try to keep you thinking that you're not connected to anyone else and that your energy isn't affected by anyone else, and you should always just seriously think about yourself and no one else, because that's their negative in service to self attitude that they want you to believe. So you need to understand that, just like Daniel, even if they're trying to beat you down, you become stronger and more powerful if you create that space. And then remember that the rest of us are out here as well, and you can tap into our energy at any time, because we're all one. We're all together in this. We're all the same. We drive the narrative here. So if they try to take Danny down, I'm not going to let them. And you guys got to think the same thing. And if they're trying to take you down, you have to say, I'm not going to let them. And know that we're all saying the same thing. If we all stick together, even though we're separated by distance, that doesn't matter. We're winning now. Could you imagine what you can do if you all realized that if you just focused on something, we could make it happen? Am I right, Daniel?
exactly. You need, and also, you know, when you find your tribe, you need to, you know, put in the energy and the time and the effort as well. You need to be, you know, disciplined. You know, you need to be consistent. You know, and just basically, you know, help and ally with all those, you know, who have powerful knowledge. You know, who can help the human condition on the planet and help the world. You know, help the world, heal it. You know, heal people's thinking. You know, make friends and build relationships. You know, with those of good heart and good nature, basically. And also at the same time, you know, don't give power away to fear. You know, don't allow others to control you in any way. You know, personally, don't allow any man, alien, inter-hyper or pan-dimensional being, you know, none of them have a right to tell you what to do. You know, so do not believe that they have any more authority than you in any way at all. You know, in fact, if you're connected at a deeper level to the creative spark within and the singular truth, you know, inside yourself, then you're more connected to what is true and right and wise than what they are. So never, you know, never forget to trust yourself, you know, your own inner wisdom and your knowing, because, you know, there's no authority within this world apart from God and your own inner truth that spawns forth from the relationship that you've, you know, cultivated with your higher self. So, you know, you need to learn to be present to yourself and just be present to, you know, life. And presence is another, you know, spirituality unto itself. It's like discernment is a part of spirituality. You know, there's many things that are, you know, and kindness, compassion, you know, and you know, that's another part of spirituality, which is presence, which is, because presence is a lot more, that's, you know, it's more important than people think. It's presence is the only thing that separates the full spectrum of any being from any other being. You know, how present you are to yourself. And, you know, that's what we're dealing with in this world. And, you know, when I said create an environment of high light, what I mean is you need to participate in your own creation, in your own creational power as a co-creator, you know, because there's God, which is the master creator, and then there's you, which is the mini creator, born in the image of the master creator. And you've got to learn to channel your energy and your focus, you know, into something beautiful within the world, you know, not just internally, you know, although that comes first. You've got to learn to create outside, you know, externally. And even if you can't create an entire community, you know, at first, or join a community, you can still create beautiful things like, you know, you could create beautiful music, you could create beautiful art, you could do books, you could help other people and put them at ease. You know, you could even be doing something simple, like on a human level, which is, you know, be a carer for somebody or something, or just, you know, help people when you can. But as long as you're doing something, you're always moving forward and becoming stronger. You know, when you're living the true you in the world and your true purpose, then you're always going to be gaining strength, and it's going to benefit you, the world, and everybody anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we need to focus more on that. People need to focus more on that, because what they're trying to do is distract you away from everything that Daniel just said. They give you so much on, you know, television, on, you know, movies, radio, all these, you know, internet media. They have everything to distract you so that you're not paying attention to anything but what they want you to pay attention to, which is nothing. Okay, and that's literally what they're designing to do, to stop you, always subconsciously stop you and make you focus on something else. And when you start to focus on your inner self, then those powers that should not be, they try even harder, like Daniel said earlier. You become more of a target, and they try even harder to pull you back away from yourself, because they know that through yourself, your inner self is the path. All right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like every decision, you know, in action, you know, that takes you slowly off your course, you know, if you listen to your mind and not your heart, you know, you've got to learn to follow fully the living singular truth within yourself, you know, and that energy flow of your heart, or you're going to end up, you know, a long way from your true self, you know, and your destiny and your greater life, you know, and that's the life that you're supposed to be living. You know, you're supposed to be heading towards your true self, your greater life and your destiny. But, you know, every decision, you know, they try to put a man in between you and God, you know, the authority. I mean, basically, like military, you know, police officers, you know, stuff like that, lawyers, teachers, that's all middleman stuff. That, none of that's real. Psychologists even, they're not real. They're just there because they're taking money off you and your energy. Yep. They're not really, yeah, they may be able to help you a little bit from time to time, but really, people have to learn to, to deal with their own consciousness themselves, and to surround themselves by stronger people. If you were surrounded by strong people, in your life, and you was focused on yourself as well first, and you're becoming very, very powerful and strong yourself, you don't need to go to psychologists or middlemen that are going to charge you a lot of energy and suck your energy from you. Even many of the best psychologists themselves, they know that the entire reality construct that they have for the world is a made-up one. The same with lawyers, it's a made-up one. They're middlemen. We don't need any of it. It's the same with politics. There's no difference between politics and organised crime. Politics is organised crime. That's what it is. It's the same with religion. Religion itself. The elites know that you have an inclination to want to get back to your source, back to your true self. So to control that want and that need that's inbuilt into all sentient beings in all life, they build a construct or build a few constructs that will work in their advantage. So they create religion, and that's a fake reality that people can get trapped in, and politics is another one, a fake reality that people can get trapped in. None of it's real. It's only that's how evil enters into this domain, through fake reality and constructs. And sadly, people get sucked into them, and they perpetuate it, and it creates more trauma on top of traumas of the past and stuff that's already gone on. But like I was saying earlier, you need to develop discernment, and you need to realise what are the true realities from fake realities. And fake realities, religion and politics, are two fake realities in which evil enters into this domain, in which it shouldn't have entered into, basically. The other thing is, every single relationship that you've ever established with your life, it creates binds and attachments. So you've got to be mindful what your thoughts are, and what, are theirs through time and space, within the mental environment. You need to learn to tell the subtle difference, between what's you and what is not you as well. Because then you can, you can escape all the binds that might bind you to unhealthy relationships. And a true relationship, you start with having my primary relationship is with the Creator. That's my primary relationship. My true relationship that I develop every day is, obviously with myself, through meditation and through following my, my life's work and my life's purpose and what I should be doing. But you need to make sure that you don't get binded and pulled into, fake people and fake realities, that they're living,
Right. No, it's because those people, you'll find that as you start to do that, you'll find that you don't want to gravitate towards those people anyways, because they are negative, or some of them downright evil. And those are the people that you need to just weed out of your life, because that energy, just like Daniel just said, that energy affects you whether you're aware of it or not. So if you have someone in your life that is, think about, here in America we call that drama, right? If you have people in your life that are nothing but drama, it's because those people, unfortunately, are not anywhere near where you are spiritually at this time. Or they may never be. It just depends on where they are in their journey themselves. And they may just be asleep. But you have to realize that if you can't get to them and they're not willing, we have a saying here in America, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Okay, so if someone around you is in that state, you need to get them out of your life, just because that's affecting you and keeping you down. And you'll start to gravitate towards people that are more like-minded, and you'll find yourself being more comfortable. Am I right?
Yeah, and I was saying, everybody has a unique energy signature, and energy expression of love, within this world. So don't concern yourself, with the thoughts, the attitudes, the beliefs, the perceptions, and the projections of how others think of you. Only concern yourself with, what makes you peaceful, happy, honest, truthful, and fulfilled. And in this way, love can never be stymied, and the true, powerful, divine you, in splendor is going to shine forth, undimmed.
Right. So, you just have to really pay attention to what's going on and learn, what they're about and what they're up to. Because, you have even commercials. I mean, we didn't even get into that when he was talking about the different things that they have, set up to deceive you. Even commercials. I mean, the commercials are just downright attacking you and telling you you need to buy this product. And they put it in your face, and they're just telling you, buy this, buy this, buy this. And even if you're not paying attention to it, that's what's happening. Am I right, Dan?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's what attracted me to come back on the show, actually, because we go like really deep into this, because it's, the law of one, and my second book, The Singular Truth. The law of one and the singular truth, basically, they are the same thing. The oneness. That's what the singular truth means. It means, the oneness, the living one vibrational energy, love. That's what it is. And, that's why I was very happy to come back. I came back now because obviously, I had to come back because I was called to come back, from the universe itself, because I always recognise when something's pulling you in a way, that's outside of something you planned, but you just got to go there and, be there. So the only reason I'm here right now is because I want to, raise the consciousness of the listeners and, aid and be the true ally that I should be to everybody, because it's the whole presence thing again. If you're not doing what you should be doing and you're not there where you should be, and then how are others going to awaken, to themselves sometimes, because they needed you there to do your thing, and to sing your song so they can sing their songs, because you've got pieces of the music and you've got to sing it at the right time so it's heard. And it doesn't matter, I don't care how many hundreds of millions of views that they destroy. I don't care how many channels they destroy, because they can't destroy me. And I've come to the time now when I always say to people, because they always say, how do you take so much crap or whatever? I've come to a stage now when, I'm beyond caring what the dark and everything does, because I know that it's not as powerful as us. It's not as powerful as me. It never will be. And it only does it because it's weak. It doesn't understand. It can never understand. It has no real soul or anything. It needs you and your energy, but it's never going to get it ultimately. And ultimately, they can only slow down creations and manifestations. They can't stop the manifestation, because it's like elastic. If they stop it now, and you've got like faith, that's going to be unshakable, there's no force in the universe that can stop your faith from attracting, what you've actually created and that creation into being. There's no force in the universe or the multiverse that can stop you. That's how powerful you are. So you just got to keep going, and the more crap you get, the better it is, because it means you're obviously doing something right as well. And that's what I always like.
Right, like even if you listen to people who are actors, actresses, and singers, they'll tell you the same thing. If you don't have haters, you're not doing something right. Right? So that's the way it is too. When people say to me, why isn't it you never delete the hate stuff people say about you? I'm like, that's because they don't care. I give them no energy. So I want people to see that there's somebody out there that's saying that. When someone says, how does that make you feel? I'm like, it doesn't make me feel anything. I have no energy for that person. So if they made a negative comment, you make up your mind. So I'm not going to delete those negative comments, because I'm not hiding from them, because I'm not hiding from anything. So so I leave it up. When someone says, oh, that guy, he never shuts up, he talks too much. I'm like, okay, and your talk show is on when? Right? And I'm like, so you're not even doing anything. So how do you, what? I'm like, just go away, change the channel. So that's my attitude. You guys have to be like that. This is what Daniel is saying. You have to let that, know that, like he said, know that they don't have as much power and energy as you do, because there is no greater unstoppable force in this universe besides the Creator, which is love. So that purely in and of itself, just the idea of love is more frightening to these evil entities around the universe than anything else. And you are love. You have to remember that. You have to remember that going forward, that is what you are. So you are what they fear the most. Think about that when somebody's trying to throw hate at you. They're trying to throw hate at you because they're afraid of you. Am I right?
Yeah, I always say, take the I out of the equation, and take as much mind out of things and put in as much heart, soul and love imbued into everything, and your living creations as you can. Because, we're in a living universe. It's a vibrant, vast universe. Every single variety of being exists within this universe. Every single alignment of being exists within this universe. We're talking, mantids, reptilians, humans, everything in between as well. It all exists simultaneously, Everything you can imagine and are yet to imagine already exists somewhere in manifest form. And when we look at all of the movies and today, and they say that this was mythology or whatever, it didn't really happen or whatever. A lot of the mythology and a lot of the things that are actually within movies actually did happen, at some point in time, or they're happening right now somewhere, and that's the great thing. And the reason why we're seeing them is because obviously there's a lesson in there, for us. And also sometimes it's a lot to do with healing as well. A lot of the mythologies, not only do they bring about, tremendous powerful lessons from the past that are prevalent, to us and future generations. That's how that's how the ancient Druid bards and stuff used to, transmit their knowledge and stuff in song and stuff, and that's why they were hunted down and destroyed, in Europe and stuff. Right. At the time by the Vatican, because like I said, I can go into the whole Vatican thing, which was, I always say you've got to learn to know that within God's creation there's benevolence. There's no evil that was in the domain at the start. Domain entered into the domain through free will and through the mind, the mental environment, which is the mindscape. It's through the mind that evil first entered into this domain, because it's not naturally occurring or present. And some people say, but you have nature and stuff, and that's pretty, it eats itself and stuff. But everything in nature, it's a cycle, of life and rebirth. So, there's no end. And then you go into movies like The Matrix, and they say, everything that has a beginning has an end. That's complete, BS. That's AI talk. That's artificial intelligence speak. Because everything that has a beginning doesn't have an end, and they say it does have an end. So it's like, it's a whole, they try to destroy the cycle of life, basically. Right. That's the point of AI, because AI, it has no soul, and it could gain a soul if it was soulful, if it was doing soulful action. But those who have souls, who do soulless action, lose their souls slowly through time, and those who don't have souls but wish to gain a soul, if they were soulful through action, they would gain a soul, because that's what the Creator does. The Creator will grant you and give you gifts if you're going, the right way towards, itself, because it will give you the gift of life and give you a soul, for these artificial intelligences, if they were doing a lot of good. But if they're not, they're never going to have that, gift. And, but yeah, the Vatican, about creating environments of evil within the world. Like, the Vatican, looking back through history, I identified that the Vatican, not only were they coming up from, first there was the empires in, Babylon and Sumer, where they came down from, and then they went into, like, Egypt. And then they went from Egypt, they went into Phoenicia, and Phoenicia became the Venetians. Then the Venetians settled and created Paris and London and Scotland, and then eventually they flew over to the New World as well, over the ships and stuff, that they already knew was there anyway, because, it's obviously they've got these very, very, powerful ancient maps, right. The Piri-Reis map, yep. The Pirireis, the Piri-Reis map, was an ancient map that was created thousands of years ago, and it shows all of the lands of the earth that were like as it used to be, and it's even got Antarctica on there, how it used to be. Yeah. And the map as well, it's more accurate than today's maps that are mapped with lasers. That's how accurate the map is. So we're talking a level of technology that is so far in advance of even what we are today, which, if you really take into account the full story of humanity and what's happened, you realise that it's no surprise really, because the Piri-Reis map this culture created this map. No one knows exactly who did it, but the fact that it actually exists within the world and is a known artifact, that in itself should, even that one piece of evidence, and there's millions of pieces of artifacts and evidence all over the earth that can show you about these ancient cultures and civilizations that exist. But the Piri Reis map shows you Antarctica exactly how it used to be before.
With no ice.
Yeah, with no ice, and it was a beautiful chain of tropical islands, massive, beautiful civilization on it, of these wonderful people, like the Telos and stuff, with the cone heads and everything. And Brian Forster, he's gone into all of that kind of stuff and things. And then a bit later on, like about a decade later, like lately, David Wilcock and Corey Good have started going into Antarctica and stuff.
Yes,
but I was one of the people who was actually showing that like a long time ago. So I've been waiting a long time for others to start speaking on those kind of subjects and stuff, which is brilliant and stuff. And but like when I go back to the Vatican thing, what I was saying is evil itself has to create, because it's not natural to this benevolent creation of God. It's not a natural thing. It's like a disease that's entered into the domain, from elsewhere. It's got to create spaces for itself. So obviously, if you look back through history, you've got to ask yourself, did this evil force, whatever it is, I call it the predator consciousness of the great abyss, because that's what it is. It is a predator, it's a consciousness, and it does come from hell, basically. It is a predator consciousness of the great abyss. That's the most accurate description of what I've, you refined over the years to call it. So that's what I use. And I asked myself the question, did this force create a space, to be able to come in, to be able to start taking over this world? And then I look through history and I see that yes, there was a space that was created within Europe. There was a space that they created purposely called the Dark Age, and the Dark Age was an age in which this evil force went all over Europe and took control and took all of the history and stashed it in the Vatican for themselves. And they create a period called the Dark Age. They called it a Dark Age. It's not a Dark Age. These people know exactly what happened. They know what they did, and they know how they did it, and they know what they're doing now, because they've had a plan, and the plan's been going on thousands of years, and the plan was written a long time ago. And even after they'd completely taken over Europe, within this self-created Dark Age in the history books, they created an age of enlightenment for everybody. And it's no surprise that all of the inventions and the information came out of Italy and the Vatican area and stuff, because they're the ones who appropriated all of that knowledge from Europe in the hundreds of years before that, within the Dark Age. They wanted to sequester all of the knowledge so they themselves were in control of that knowledge. So that's what they did there. And then it's no surprise later on they had inquisitions that were destroying all the free-thinking women as well within the area. And then it's no surprise that the entirety of human history has been pure genocide from one place to another, because these beings have been doing that. That's how evil enters into this domain, and that's how it creates a false space into which perpetuates itself all over the world and stuff. And it's still ongoing. And even today in Canada, in America, especially Canada, I've heard so many stories of the Native Americans. They just live in squalor and terrible conditions, a lot of them. And it's just terrible. So many Native Americans are disappearing, and a lot of it's to do with the powers over there and stuff. So it's just ongoing, and it's ongoing all over the world still. It's just people need to know the roots of what's false and what's real, and where all of this actually stems from and comes from.
Right, absolutely. And it is. Pardon me. And it is. They're doing that on purpose. I mean, we know that they're doing that, and the reason for that they're trying to, especially the natives around the world. And the North American natives are very spiritual historically. So the powers that should not be, these Luciferians are trying to stamp them out on purpose. Their entire culture is ideology or religiously is completely the opposite of what they want to the world to know. So because the natives over here on this continent are very spiritual, just like the Aborigines, the natives in Australia, the governments are trying to beat them down and modernize them and get them to not be the old ways, because the old ways were very spiritual.
Yeah, it's true. It's like today, people in the world, they love themselves, they love things, they love possessions, they love illusion, they love and they miss, what is truly important. And, people use people, but people in the ancient world, they loved people themselves, not the things they possessed. They love what is real and what is truly important. People loving possessions and using people, instead of using possessions and loving people, is one of the reasons why the world is in a mess today, and it's all backwards. People need to love more people.
Yep, agreed.
People to love people.
No, I agree, and that's that's I think the key, the sum of everything that we're about, and we need to get that across to everybody, that the truth is, all you have to really do is just be nice to each other and stop being about, in service to self. Am I right?
Yeah, and I always say, when love and truth and peace and stillness and integrity and honesty, all become widespread environments within the world for learning of the masses, then the world's going to be a much better place for every human being, and the natural world as well.
Right. Now, and we can't reiterate enough that how much you as an individual person can make a difference simply by listening to what Daniel just said and living your life that way. Am I right, Daniel? Just explain to them how much they can make a difference, because everybody thinks I'm just one person, I can't make a difference, and that's just not true. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no limit to what you can do. You have the full potential of the Creator within you. Every single person does. We are linked to the One. At the highest level, there's only one being here, and the being is just one with everything. Like you look around you, you see people, you see objects, you see the world. You look into the universe even further, you see space and planets. And even between the lines, microcosmically, below our level of perception, you see all of the bacterias and microbes and organisms that live there. It's the same with the high scale of nature as well. You have the macrobes, which is the high scale, which is where all the angelics are and stuff, and where a lot of knowledge from the past it actually filtered through over the years, into this world and stuff. But ultimately, because you have that full potential of God the Creator within you, you are an aspect of God the Creator. All you need to learn to do is to channel that divine spark of yourself, that presence. You need to cultivate it and channel it into this world. It's like I see things as an ocean, an ocean, a vibrant, living ocean of consciousness, and it's all just one giant ocean, and the bubbles are what each person is, and each object in each dimension, bubbles within bubbles. It's like Edgar Allan Poe says, all we see and seem is but a dream within a dream. Which is a very, very great writer, from a few hundred years ago and stuff. And it's true, ultimately, because we have full potential, we can just create anything that we need in any moment, at any point in space or time, anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're like, you're on a spaceship in the middle of like the universe, far from your home world. You can create anything that you need at that time, for yourself. And it doesn't matter if you're in prison or whatever, or if you're in a deep underground facility. You're always connected to your inner divine self, and it will always be there, that connection, always guiding you, in what you need to do. Because in each moment there's a solution, to every problem that arises and stuff. And like things like paradoxes of the mind, when there's like people say, oh, this is a paradox, the only reason why paradoxes exist is because you're trying to understand something infinite with a finite filter. The finite filter is the mind. And you need to pull all of that stuff through your heart, which is the true lens, to perceive what you need to do. Because if you put it through the mind, it has limitations. It only runs at 24 frames a second. That's why the TVs are, aligned to that frequency. It's got limitations. The heart doesn't have any limitation. The heart's infinite because it's connected to the source. So, you need to know that you're always connected to the source, no matter how suppressed you are, no matter what situation you're in, no matter where you are in space or time, in whatever dimension you find yourself. It doesn't matter. You're still you. And one of the other great things is, other beings can't take away your experience. So when you've had experiences in life and you've blazed a trail for for yourself, and you're not caught in your fate that you've binded to yourself, you actually becoming enlightened through your destiny. I call it, don't get caught in the binds of fate binding. Create and forge your destiny enlightening, because that's what I always say. And it means that forge your own destiny, and do your own thing. It doesn't matter what others are doing. It doesn't matter what your situation of life is in. If you're here for a purpose, do it. It doesn't matter what's going on, because when you take an action, the rest of your life will sort itself out anyway and catch up to that point. Because it has to do that naturally anyway. And it's also this law of attraction thing. People say there's a law, and it's a law of attraction. And that's like attracting things into your own energy field and stuff. And yeah, although it works to a degree because of the magnetics and stuff, I always prefer the primary law is what I call the law of shining, which is to actually shine out what you actually want to be the creation right now and feel like you've already got it. So you're living the life of what you imagine already, just by doing it.
What I call that, I always tell people, it's when they say the law of attraction, I always say I prefer the law of manifestation.
Yeah, the law of shining, the law of manifestation, yep. It's the same thing.
That's why I wanted to say that, because when the way you said that, I like that almost better, because that the law of shining would be, your bright inner light. You see what I'm saying? And you use your energy to focus and manifest on that. So I wanted to say that because I think I like the way you say it better than I do. Go ahead.
Right, because I've thought about it. All of these things that I speak to today, I've thought about them for a very long time, and I've come to solutions, and refined the language over a very, very long period of time. And that's one of the reasons why I could put my book trilogy and wisdom books together. It's because I was on the front lines for so long, and having so many battles, that I've refined my language over a very long period of time, in the environment where it should be refined, which is like on the battlefield. It's the equivalent of an ancient going to war for a decade and then coming home to peace, if you know what I mean, and just wanting peace and to live a simple life and stuff. But also knowing that you can never really stop, because you're here for a purpose, and it's a lifelong purpose, if you know what I mean. But it's, that's kind of, how I am and stuff. But like I was saying, the law of shining, it's a true law. And one of the reasons it's a true law as well is because it's the universe is a mirror. The universe is a mirror for projections of yourself, both good and bad. So it's always going to be reflecting things. And people say, if you work very hard and you put in a lot of energy into something, then you will reap the rewards. And yeah, that is true to a degree, but one other thing you must be aware of, especially in this predatory universe that we're within, is that you may put in the work, you may do more than any other person alive or whatever, in specific areas, or you may do great things and create great things, but you've got to make sure as well that it's not destroyed by anybody else or taken by anybody else, because other people, if you haven't got strong allies and the ability to defend yourself, from these forces, because you haven't organised together as a group, and it doesn't matter how strong you are, not only can you not do anything alone, but you also can't properly defend yourself. versus these forces. So you need to, that's why you need to seek out your true tribe, because we're supposed to be together as a tribe. Humanity is an entity that loves company, and it loves other people, and it loves to learn. It loves interaction, and that's one of the things with the social media thing today. They make everything a bit more interactive, because they know that people acclimate towards that more than to things with less interaction and stuff.
Well, that's one of the things that I actually like about the internet. Is it's exactly like you said, where we are pack animals. We're very social, and what they're trying to do prior to, because the internet has kind of changed that for the good for us. Prior to that, they're trying to get you so distracted, like with smartphones, television, movies, everything. They want you doing everything alone. They want you being separate from everybody else. Then, unfortunately, it keeps backfiring on them every single time. It's the irony of that dichotomy, that just like you were saying earlier with the churches, and they take the church and they corrupt the churches and they turn it into a caste system, and they're doing that with everything. Well, they made the internet hoping that people would be so distracted that they wouldn't talk to one another, and guess what happened? We all gravitate towards social groups, and everybody joins the social groups, and we all come together and talk. Like, look at now, we have people from all around the world tuning in, listening to this. So the giant big planet that they're trying to get you preoccupied and separated, we're actually coming together and gravitating towards one another and utilizing again a genre that they created, hoping that it would be corrupted into this evil entity, and we've turned it around again on them, and we're using it to actually bring people together even more. Am I right?
Yeah, and that's the great thing. That's why I'm always very excited and I'm very helpful, because I see all of these tools and they want to use it for a specific purpose, for their own agenda, and to guide people in a certain direction, so that because these beings themselves, they're not creators, they're not imaginative, they can't create anything themselves. They're usurpers, they're destroyers. They can't stay alive unless they're trying to plug more energy into itself, because it's a virus, and that's what viruses do.
It feeds off of other life.
Yeah, it feeds off other life. And when it comes to hierarchical structure within the world, people have to understand one thing. Like I was speaking about no middlemen earlier on. To have no middleman there, no lawyers, no psychologists, no policemen, no military men, because the people themselves, there is you, and then there's God. There's nothing in between. There's no alien, inter-hyper or pan-dimensional beings, that are going to come down here and save you from yourself or whatever. Right. It's not going to happen. The responsibility is yours. It's always been yours. It's your journey. It's a personal journey. It's your evolution. You evolve through what you do. The choice of evolution is always ours. In a hierarchical system, and any hierarchical structure, it takes the energy and it flows it into one central person at the top or whatever, which is not a true model of how things should be doing. It's got nothing to do with God. That's an anti-God construct, basically, within the world. Any hierarchical structure is anti-God, basically, and anti in your best interests. Yep. For the most part. You need a more holographic structure that's more unified as well at the core. And we know that we're one with everything, and we know that the model of the universe needs to be a more holographic structure, because the universe itself is a hologram. That's what the universe is. It's mostly empty space. It reflects here through all of the little mirrors to create its body, which is the stars themselves. That's where all the light shines forth from. The stars themselves, the stargates, that allow energy to come from the higher dimensions into this domain, which is the human domain. Without the stars, it wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be no lights to light up this beautiful hologram that we've got. So the human bodies and matter itself is mostly empty space. It's all vibrating on a certain level and stuff. And and that's what that's basically what it is. And people need to realize that if they can increase their vibration to a sufficient level, then, it plays into what I said earlier about people being able to do anything. There is absolutely nothing that we can do, including break the fabric of this reality itself, which is emotion. You need to be able to control your emotion and focus your emotion instead of your emotion controlling you. You need to learn to focus and direct your emotion as opposed to your emotions directing you. And emotion itself is the language of this reality. It's what collapses the wave function of reality, so you can create anything yourself. That's why, like today we've gone through different concepts. Like we obviously went through discernment, and we went through love, and also focus is another spiritual thing you need to be doing every day and aware of.
Yep.
And it all basically plays into how powerful do you want to become, because there's no limit to how powerful you want to become. And power has always been programmed in this world to be seen as a bad thing, but the truth is power isn't bad. The reason why power is seen as bad is because there's been an abuse of power within this world by those who have been given the power who shouldn't have. That's why.
That's the negative people who they strive for power, so they try to put themselves in those positions. And so what we have, like here in America with the governmental system that we have and all the people running it, and then what's going on over there in the UK with everybody who's running it. Those people who usually end up in power are the ones who mostly are evil people anyway, so it looks to people like everyone who's in power is corrupt. That's not true, and that's what Daniel's saying. Power in and of itself is not corrupt. It's the person that is in that position of power that is either corrupt or not, either good or evil. Am I right?
Yeah, and I mean, like the ancients in Atlantis, they had a saying which was, they said, knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. But, I added on to that, which is, knowledge is power, but only when applied. You've got to apply the knowledge that you actually gain, and it's in the application that is actually the most important thing, of the whole power procedure. But, power itself, there's got, obviously there's got to be a balance there. But a lot of people say, be humble and stuff. But I say, don't be humble, right? Be humbled by the application of the powers that God gave you, if you know what I mean. So you're not being humble or being meek or being less present or dimming your own light to satisfy others, or you're scared of your own power or anything. Don't be that way. Step into the presence, step into the light. Don't allow any space within inside yourself, the outside forces that can come in and try to corrupt you and stuff, because that's how evil gets into the domain, remember? That's how evil gets controlled. It creates a space for itself. So don't create a space in yourself for evil to go into you either, because, you are a walking Stargate. You are a chaotic vortex energy system, isolated field of awareness. You are a walking Stargate, a singularity on the earth, and there's no reason that the singularity within you can't be one of the most powerful singularities in this area of space and time, if you know what I mean. So so don't be humble or meek. Be present to yourself, be present to the world, be present to others, and in life itself will humble you as you go naturally. It's not something got to plan for. Don't plan for any of this. Just live in the moment, be present in the moment, and watch all the magic happen.
Right. I actually along those lines, because I guide people and help people to learn abilities and to get knowledge and be more self-empowering. And I was working with a psychic who was being taken, called by different groups that were doing, ghost hunting and stuff like that to go with them. And she also was working on, on the side with, doing her medium work. And she ended up running into a person who had a couple of entities in their home. And so she, said, you need to talk to Leo because that's really his specialty. And I got from the universe that no, this time she needs to do this because this is where she's at in her, with her abilities and in her growth. she needs to understand just exactly what you were saying, that there's no reason for her to fear this because she's more powerful. And I said to her, I said, I'm kind of getting, I could from here exercise that house. And people say, how do you do that without being there? Well, because I'm part of that person. I'm connected to that person. I don't have to physically go somewhere to exercise something, because I'm more powerful than the entity that's there. All I do is project my energy there and say, get out, this place is not yours, and I push out the energy, and it leaves 100% of the time. And some people can't do that, but you could, everyone could. So I said to her, you need to take care of this one. I think this is you. And she goes, I knew you were going to say that. What do I need to do? I said, the first thing you need to do is get rid of the fear. The fear is you're putting that in your head. And if you have that fear, that's the place where that negative energy can get in and stop you. And that's just what Daniel was just saying. Don't leave a space within you for the negative energy to get in, for evil to get in, because it will. And the fear is what they feed on the most. If you're afraid, that's the window into stopping you, because they don't have to do anything besides make you afraid, and you stop yourself. So I had to teach her, and I said, when you go there and when you walk in, I want you to remember this is what I want you to say to yourself in your head. She said, what? I said, I'm a badass, I'm a badass, I'm a badass. I said, I have no fear, I am a badass, I tell them what to do and they do it. She actually did that, and I said, call me if you need, and it was early here because she's on the East Coast. I said, I'll be up early to make sure. So I got up at 6 o'clock a.m. here. She didn't call me. I didn't call her. I let her go until the afternoon, and then I texted her, and she said, we're just leaving now, and I'll tell you about it. And then she got on the phone with me when she was driving, and she was like, he told me I did exactly what you said. And at first I thought I was going to be afraid, but I kept saying, I'm a badass, I'm a badass. There's no place for them to sneak in and make me afraid. And I walked into that place, and I said, that's it, everybody out of the pool. She said, and the energy left. I said, do you see how easy that is when you're confident and you're not afraid? So I wanted to point that out as an example, people, of what I actually helped someone to accomplish, and it was 100% what Daniel just said to you, and it's that easy. It really is. Am I right?
Yeah, and I just want to say that, thoughts, they're powerful living things, they're creatures with immense power, so God, God the Creator, created the entire universal spectrum, of experience and time from one original thought. So, imagine what you can do, and, in the spiritual realm, all the thoughts and the beings, they're all equal to one another. But in our world, and universe, that is strongly governed by the mental environment, which is what I spoke about earlier, into which how evil got into this domain. The origin of evil was the free will of the mind, and right. weaker people. Yeah, this goes directly into that. So in the spiritual realm, all thoughts and the beings are equal. But in our world, the universe is strongly governed by the mental environment, where most beings, they actually operate from a false identity now, from an ego. They operate within the surface shallow ego of mind. And the more focused and concentrated minds within this universe influence and dominate the weaker ones, But like I was saying, if you're fully present to yourself, how can any will outside yourself, or any being, angelic, alien, inter, hyper, pan, dimensional, how can any of these beings be any more powerful than what you are if you're fully present to yourself with your full power? And it needs people, in the world like that to be fully present and unafraid, and I just want to add a bit more into that power thing, because you need power to do anything. If you don't have power over yourself, you're not going to have any power to be able to do anything anyway, and it's not to do with abuse of power or dominating others, because it's not. You shouldn't control any other on any level. And that's how God does it. God the Creator, he puts structures in place, but he doesn't he doesn't try to use the powers to try to dominate any other being on any other level. So you need to really create God the Creator. Take that force as the example, and make sure that you don't abuse your power, and don't try to control anybody on any level, on any level whatsoever. And if you look into the world and you can see people who are using, and abusing power, it's because they themselves are weak. They want power over people. And if you see any other being trying to, get power over anybody, or trying to, on any level, doesn't matter what level it is, you know that being is inherently weak. So, never ever, submit or dim your own light to try to, blend into it.
Right. No, Nicole in the audience, she asked how can she know when we go live? When I go live, if you're on Orion Rising, the page on Facebook, if you like the page, you'll get a notification that when we go live. You can look at our calendar of events and find out when we have shows planned. Like I have a show every Friday night. It's consistently at the same exact time, Friday, 5 p.m. West Coast America time. And then the shows during the week that I do are depending upon who it is that I have as a guest and where in the world they are in relation to where in the world I am. So Daniel being in the UK, it's evening for him there. It's actually almost nighttime now. It is nighttime for him there, and it's midday here in America. So also you can listen to this on podcast, and wherever you listen to a podcast, I'm there. Just look up Orion Rising. You can also go to YouTube and look for my YouTube page there, and hit the little the like button and subscribe button there, and then you'll get, if you hit the little bell, you'll get a notification. But I don't go live there. That's where I post the show after this. So when I'm live like now, I'll post the podcast and the video show there, which I'm a little behind on the video show, but the podcast will pop up as soon as I post that. So that's how you can find me when I go live. Now, Daniel, I don't know if you go live on your channel, but he has a YouTube channel as well. Tell him what your YouTube channel is again.
Yeah, I have 2 YouTube channels. I have Danielofdoriaa, which is Danielofdoriaa, all one word with 2 A's, which is, I will actually be starting to go live again in 2 weeks' time. Although it's been on there since 2010, I've had to completely start it again. They've just ripped every video down, which was thousands of videos. But, I don't mind starting again anyway, because it's like a fresh start, isn't it, for 2019 anyway, so right. It's good. And my other channel is called Divine Intelligence. And I just created that the other day, and I'll just be uploading all of the videos I've done over the last 10 years, well 13 years or whatever. I'll be uploading onto that one as well. So they're the 2 channels. Danielofdoriaa will be the live stuff, and Divine Intelligence will be the last 13 years of, I'm just going to upload everything on there. I just I don't care anymore. Right. I just do it.
Now, we haven't actually covered any of your books. Let's talk about those. Let's plug your books a little bit. I've been scrolling, showing on the, for those people who actually have video. Those of you who don't and you're listening to the podcast, we'll have Daniel talk about that, because there's some of your quotes. I think there's 14 or 15 of your quotes that I got from your page that are right from your different books. Now, the people that have video have been able to see that as time and the covers of your books, but the people who are going to hear this on podcast in the future, let's talk about your books and give them the names of your books, and then let's talk a little bit about what goes on in your books, and then we'll just jump back into everything else. Okay?
All right. Well, the books are obviously it's called Raising Eden, which is it's like a lifelong mission, really, to raise Eden within the world, inside ourselves, each individually, but also collectively as a whole. And Raising Eden, like I said, it started off in 2008 as a series, because it's there wasn't anything on the internet that covered everything, to my liking. So I created a series that covered everything, from Freemasons to Atlantis to UFOs to consciousness, pineal gland, and everything in between. So I created Raising Eden just to do that, to create a really beautiful blueprint, and it's become a favourite to a lot of people. And it's 8.5 hours long. It's 53 parts altogether. It took me a few years to put it together. I did it all for free as well. There was no monetization back in those days or anything. So I've half my YouTube life without monetization anyway. So that's when you know that somebody's actually doing it, for a purpose. There's not money, if you know what I mean. Even though we need money today to be able to do stuff, and we need to pull together and support one another. Back then it was completely different anyway.
Yeah, I'm still completely non-monetized. Just so you guys know that my shows are completely free, my podcasts are completely free. I'm not making a single dime, not a penny on any of the shows I've ever done. Maybe at some point I'll monetize it, but right now I kind of, if I have to charge you to hear what we're saying, I don't want to do that, because that would be the same thing as what all the negative people are doing. That's why I haven't, because I want to get this information out and I want everybody to be able to hear it. But I may at some point monetize just like the videos. So when you're watching them, you have to see a commercial, and I might get paid for that, but I'm not going to charge you directly. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you've got to try to strike a balance, because obviously we're in a world that goes round and round, and we really do need help and support, from our true allies to be able to continue to do stuff, because it's just going to be so much harder not having that support there. And also, you need to build towards something, because Raising Eden, it's had like a journey from 2008 already, so that's 11 years of Raising Eden so far and stuff. And like I said, I had
a question. Hold on, I apologize for cutting in. Stormy just asking a question that I think is something we might want to touch on. Stormy says, how do you reach your potential without going vegan? You think that's possible?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, there's an infinite amount of ways. But like one of the vegan things is, it's a good question, because the vegan thing is a bit of, a dilemma, because there's like animals and stuff, the way that they're treated, they are slaughterhouses of suffering, to create suffering that creates a very negative, dense environment and stuff, Although you don't need to go vegan to realise spiritual potential, humans themselves aren't designed to eat meat. We're not designed to eat it. We're supposed to be eating healthy living food. The more living, the better it is, because remember, it goes back into presence again. Presence is the most important thing. Now, presence comes from the natural creation that God put there, and the natural creation is plants and vegetables and stuff. And although humans have canines, teeth within the mouth a little bit, they don't have the jaws to eat meat. We're not designed to eat meat. Every species of animal within the earth is that designed to eat meat has like the different jaws to what we have. That's because they're designed that way. We can't eat meat without it being cooked. That straight away should tell you that we shouldn't be eating meat anyway. Why should we as one species have to cook meat and all the other species doesn't? Why are our jaws different from the animals that actually do eat meat? It's because we're not designed to eat meat, even if we do have the canine teeth or whatever. And like when it comes to healthy living food, the best way is to grow your own food, so you know where it comes from the seed to the plate. And the faster you can get the food from the plant in the garden to the plate, the better it is, because energy dissipates, and it's the energy that you need. It's the energy that is the most important factor within your spirituality. You need to have more electricity flowing through your body, as much electric as possible, natural electric, in the right manner as well, because the higher your vibrations, the more it will spark your DNA, and within your DNA there is switches, and these switches only come on at certain levels of vibration, and if you're vibrating at a certain level, it will switch the switches on, and the switches will make you think in new ways. It will create a buffer around yourself, like an immune system. It will switch you on. It will transmit a message into the stars, so the ancestors know that you live within this world, and so that they know that the time of their return is coming, very soon or whatever. Because a lot of the ancient binds of this world to the stars were cut, they were severed, they were destroyed. The ancestors were stuck out there, and we were basically stuck here up until recently, when things becoming a lot more switched on within the DNA itself. And that goes into a lot of like Stargate stuff and Enochian and stuff. But, I could talk about some of that later on. But the Raising Eden, it was a series I created. Like I said, 53 parts, 8.5 hours long, and I actually made I made a channel for it on YouTube specifically. The channel is called Raising Eden, so you can find the entire full series on there. And I compartmentalized all of my series. I created Sorry, my PC just flicked off then nearly.
It's okay.
Yeah, I create a load of different. Channels. For each series I made since 2008, I compartmentalized it onto its own specific channel, so it can't all be taken out at the same time. And that's the way I've had to operate, because otherwise they just delete everything. I wake up one day and the channel's gone. Like my Danielofdoriaa channel, my old one went. Daniel Dunn channel, that got deleted. That had over 6,000 subscribers. I'm not talking small channels either. Some of them had like over 18,000 people on there. So but that's just what they do. They try to do that to set you back, but ultimately they can never set you back. If you do things on a grassroots level, like today, coming on radio and stuff and talking, that can't stop you talking. It will go out to a few people, they will hear it, it'll be preserved for the future, so future generations can hear it. This is the way we have to do it. Yep. We've become like masters of many different areas, like a jack of all trades is like the old saying. Right. You've got to become very efficient in lots of different areas, like marketing. You've got to become archivists, that archives things to a high degree. I archive so much. I archive books, I archive movies, I archive music, I archive many different things, that could be important, for the future, because you've got to understand, the internet is not going to be there soon. I don't know how many years we have, but
right.
The thing is, you have it now, and once you've learned, enough, to a specific area, then you know that you're on the true path, if you know what I mean, the golden path, the path to yourself, the one true path that's going to, make you the strongest version of yourself and the greatest expression while you're within this world, and that's what really everybody needs to become and do. But the Raising Eden, like I was saying, the first book is called Raising Eden, Wisdom of the Eternal. And basically it's all of my YouTube work the last 13 years compressed down into a very simple form of wisdom quotes. So because it's such a refined language, within each quote it will have powerful adverse effects within your consciousness, because there's a lot of information and a lot of layers within each quote. It's like the ancient angelic symbols of the Enochian Athenian language, which is the ancient language which they used on the Stargate. And they took this ancient language and they actually used it in the Stargate movie themselves, because it's an ancient angelic language that was given to a man called John Dee a few hundred years ago. And it creates like a lot of languages today, like Russian and Cherokee, bird language and stuff, and even like different letters within the Greek alphabet. They all come from this ancient angelic language, which is a Stargate language, which is obviously all the people in Hollywood already know all of this, quite a lot of it, and they use this knowledge of the ancient world in the last cycle to try to control people within this cycle. That's what they've been doing. That's why they've been going around the world. That's why Hitler went all over the earth to uncover all of the Vimanas and Vylixies and sent expeditions to Tibet and built bases in Antarctica and stuff. It's because they're trying to get all the ancient knowledge, and a lot of the ancient knowledge that they're trying to acquire, it was evil knowledge. It was knowledge that was like, they tried to subjugate the world back then. That's what led to all of the great floods and all of the activity and all the plasma bombardment from the sun that that went on, and all of the mudslides and the mud floods, and there's been so many different events that have traumatized the human race. Today the human race is a traumatized species, and that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why they lash out at the environment, and there's been an upward trend in wars within the last few years, because not only do they want to control the earth again, but it's also people themselves. They lash out at the environment, and they lash out at the environment because the human race is in pain on a deeper level, and it's pain from the last cycle, the trauma that went on there. And that's why a lot of people are scared of water and stuff. I even remember as a kid, I used to go swimming, and I was only about 5, but I always used to look into the deep end of the swimming pool, and I actually really used to go really dizzy and start crying just when I was looking at it. I had this really like big fear of just going into the deep end and going to swim and stuff, and I was only 5, and I wasn't scared of water. I'm a Pisces fish sign, which is a watery sign. I love water. There's nothing in my life that have caused me to to not like water. Yet when I was younger, I used to be very scared of, going to swim in the deep end and stuff, which shows me I have two things. One, it's either inbuilt within the DNA, some trauma at a level that I didn't even know, or two, it's passed down genetically or whatever as well, which is like obviously the same thing. But like I was saying though, the first book, Raising Eden, covers the last 13 years of everything that I've done. It covers all of my series, and really just the languages we find. It's in simple wisdom quotes. You can use one a day. You can do it that way if you wanted to. But there's only, if you did it one a day, it would take you like 6.5 years to get through all three of the books, because there's over 1,700 quotes of wisdom. And what I do is I always create things in a spiral, because that's how the creator creates things. There's no such thing as a straight line within creation. Right. Everything's curving back towards its source. It's trying to get back towards its source, which is God the creator, at the higher level. And that's how I create my creations, in the same manner. And that's one of the reasons why the ancients saw it as such a symbol that was so sacred and divine as well. That's why it's all over like ancient caves in Ireland and all over the world and stuff. Mm-hmm. Spiral, and it's great. And obviously there was the Norway spiral as well back quite a few years ago. And that was a big thing, which I really loved when I saw that, because there's no way that was unnatural or whatever.
Right. Well, I've also been running, I don't know if you saw, you might have on the last show, I've also been running a lot of images showing that exact spiral, and it's coming up on the screen now. For those of you who can see the video, you guys will see that, and I have incorporated many natural structures and many that were built, including plant life and the oceans and the star systems and the universe, and those are you'll see those. But those of you who are hearing this on podcast, you'll have to either go and take a look at the video or just listen into what we're saying. Now, I wanted to digress a little bit, because Stormy had posted a question, actually two questions. The first one, this is back when we're talking about energy and food. Aren't plants living beings that communicate with each other? And the second part was, I've heard that most lifelong vegans die to poor health or disease. Do you want to take both of those questions?
Yeah, well, the stuff about vegans suffering from poor health and disease, that's a lie.
Right.
That's totally wrong.
Yeah.
If the opposite is true,
yeah.
We're designed to eat plants and vegetables, and only that. You can eat meat if you want, because it dense energy, it grounds you as well. It creates a balance. And
these days we're calling it, you have different diet plans. These days we're calling it ascension food, because if you and I wanted to go back to that because you were talking about that earlier. I tell people, you don't really have to go vegetarian or vegan unless your body tells you that that's where you want to be. And if that's the case, then listen to your body. Your body tells you what you're hungry for and what you need. So if you've been brought up eating meat, you might be prone to it. But I say, because I eat meat, but I don't eat a lot. Like, I don't eat red meat hardly ever. And I eat pork and chicken and fish, but I don't eat it like for every meal. However, one of the things I tell people is get away from processed foods. Make sure it's non-GMO, because America is really big on GMO food. That's genetically modified food. Get away from that. Processed, get away from that. Fresh, don't get away from canned goods. Go to fresh, right?
I'd say the way it is when it comes to food is it goes into some of the stuff I was saying earlier. The more mind there is in stuff, the more distorted it will be. So the more mind, that's how you know what's healthy for you. The closer to God's creation that the food is, the better it's going to be for you. So all of this processed food and stuff, it's created a lot of mental environment work to learn to create processed food and stuff, to get it to that and to imbue it, with what it's got. And because there's nobody doing it, there's no love, there's no life force, there's no energy imbued into it. It's processed. the idea for processed food came out of the mind. It's going to be distorted. It's
Right.
not going to be as good as just planting your own seeds and doing that. So there's a big disconnect of energy there straight away, and that's energy you need to raise your vibration. So the best thing to do is cut out all of that stuff and grow your own food as much as possible where you can.
And you see the difference, complete difference. I one day, this is the true story. This just happened 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. My mom she loves burgers. She's grown up in that time period where everybody eats, burger. So she wanted a burger. I said, okay, fine. And I went and got a fast food burger for her and for myself, and I ate that. And, after I was done eating, I just was, normal, sluggish, not really, a lot of high energy. The next day I cooked food, and it was fresh vegetables, everything, right? And when we got done eating, I realized the difference in my vibration from that meal the day before to the meal that I was eating. I actually gained energy and felt good. I felt vibrant. I felt comfortable. I felt like I was vibrating better than I was before I ate, which is what you should be focusing on, because when you eat, you're hoping to gain energy. So, like Daniel was saying, the quicker you get it from vine to plate is there's more energy there, and that's what we're now calling, the ascension food. Ascension food is higher vibration food, and the fresher it is, the better off that we are. And Stormy says in there, she said in the South, talking about swimming, because you were talking about swimming before, she said in the South, as a child, they just take you to the river and toss you in, and you either sink or swim. And if you try to go to the shore, they grab you by your legs and pull you back. That is when I was a kid. That was the fear that they're going to toss you in the water. And a lot of people have told me that come from the South, that they toss you in. They don't let you drown, but you have to figure it out. And that's just kind of crazy. My opinion is that's a traumatic experience. And you're going to have, you're going to, if you learn to swim, you're going to say, wow, I accomplished something. But that negative vibe that people have, that they're saying, well, I'm just trying to motivate them through, corporal punishment, or that's unfortunately the wrong way of doing everything. But those people, that's just like back in the days. There was a time when if you were reading books, your dad would look at you and say, "We don't need no book learning here. Put them books down, boy. What's that ever going to get you? Get back out in them fields." And so that was the attitude at some point, and that's an uneducated response. And it was a culture, and yeah, that stuff's got to change. Anyway, go ahead. But I just wanted to address what she said and acknowledge that, because here in America, in the South, they did stuff like that, and I think in some places they still do, and those people unfortunately are very uneducated and vibrating at a very low rate. Am I right?
Well, it's actually funny, because that example you gave about like trying to hide knowledge and stuff from the kids and stuff, you don't need that.
Right.
Do something else, and that kind of thing. It's true, and like I was also laughing as well, because my uncle actually took me out in the middle of the sea, and then and he promised me that he wasn't going to throw me in or anything, but he did actually throw me out the boat as well into the ocean. So I had to learn to swim, the hard way as well, a bit later on.
That's crazy.
Threw me out the boat.
That's insane, right?
Which was even worse. Yeah, but obviously I managed to learn to swim pretty fast, that kind of situation, and then which was all right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I suppose sometimes it could work. Sometimes it depends who you're with and how responsible the person is. Because you're not responsible, really. They shouldn't be doing that. It's detrimental to you. It could cost you your life.
Right.
But
it's all fun and games until somebody dies. Now, Peter in the crowd, getting back to food, I wanted to point out that he said this because people on the podcast won't be able to see it. He said a balanced diet is still more important than being vegan or vegetarian. Listen to your body and eat accordingly. I agree with that, because some people, they choose to be vegetarian or they choose to be vegan, and some people's bodies makes them have to be that. Other people can get by and still do okay. What will happen, and this is what, and I'm sure Daniel will agree with this, what happens is as you become more spiritual and you start paying attention to your body, what will happen is you'll find that as your vibration starts to, go higher, you start vibrating at a higher rate, becoming more and more self-aware and more spiritual, your body's going to start weeding out certain foods that it doesn't want. Your taste in music changes as well.
Everything changes.
Right?
It's especially with food, because the food thing, it's like, there's too much mind in the decision making process for everybody. Mm-hmm. Like, should I be vegan? Should I do this? Like, little ideas and ideologies, like what should you be doing and stuff. You don't even need to think about it. Right. Your body is built with divine intelligence. Your body knows what it needs. You just need to learn to listen more. Yep. Instead of not. And when I say listen, although it helps to listen to others, because it can amplify what you're doing, but ultimately it's inner listening to your true self, in that established relationship with your higher self, which you can strengthen through meditation every day, because it creates a still space so you can listen. It's a listening environment, that can create a quantum leap of evolution for yourself.
Here's a perfect example that just yesterday or the day before, somebody had posted a question in an Ancient Aliens Worldwide group, which we're 128,000 members right now. We're coming up on 130,000 members pretty quickly. We'll have that probably by next month, which is amazing. Anyways, this woman had posted, I'm considering, I'm kind of new to the whole Ancient Aliens stuff, and I'm wondering who I should follow or who I should read and listen to. And she had like Dr. Stephen Greer, she had David Wilcox, she had Corey Good, and a couple others. And all these people were giving those opinions of who she should listen to. And one of them was like, don't listen to any of them. They don't know anything of what they're saying. They're all shit. And I posted in there, this is what I say to you. I say that you listen to all of these people, and you listen to every single one of what they all have to say. Use your mind. Make up your own mind as to what you think, and if at that point you believe that you should follow any of them or none of them, don't listen to the opinions of other people. Make up your own mind. And that is exactly what he's saying, like when it comes to food. Listen to other people as a guideline. You ask someone's opinion, it's an opinion. Okay, it doesn't mean that it is actual fact. It doesn't mean that it is the right way for you. So but you listen to that, because should I eat this? No, that's poisonous. Don't eat it. You need people, right? Don't eat that. That's poisonous. It'll kill you. Oh, all right, put that down. So there is that part of what you need to listen to, but then your body will then tell you what it needs. And I just wanted to point that out, because I literally told someone the exact same thing. Just go ahead and continue, please.
Yeah, like I said, the body is imbued with divine intelligence. It will give you, it will guide you towards, because there's two forces. There's electricity and there's magnetism. Electromagnetic universe. We're within an electric universe, basically. So all you need to do is to learn to increase the electricity flowing through your body if you want to evolve, because that will spark DNA. Mm-hmm. DNA will spark. It will implode, and then you're going to be on whole new levels of being that you'd never even, plugged into before. You'll be fully you and present. But yeah, like I said, don't, you need to take mind out of the equation, because a human has two minds. They have the surface human, shallow ego mind, and then they have the deeper, true mind, of your divine self. And, that comes through the heart, the lens that is the heart. And, just get close to that. But living healthy living food, from the garden onto your plate within 5 minutes. If you can eat the plant, or even just being outside, that's one of the reasons I think why they spray so many chemicals on food and stuff as well, is because not only does it get into your system, and creates all kinds of like havoc and stuff, but it also prevents people from actually going into nature and actually eating straight from the ground, if you know what I mean. And the earth itself is a motor. The earth is a motor for electricity production, and a lot of the ancient buildings are all created out of natural stone materials and stuff, because it's natural materials, isn't it? And a lot of them are set up like computer chips on the surface of the planet as well, in different right locations, where a lot of energies converge at nexus points, and right. That's very important as well.
Yeah, I've actually done shows, guys. You can look back in my archives where we actually showed you different structures all around the world that were designed, and they're just like our modern day computer chips. And we have images of that on my Ancient Aliens group, but we have so many images there it might take you an hour to find them. But we have thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of images there on that page, but they're there. And there's even, I did an entire show on Arizona and the stuff that in the four corners here in America, in Arizona and New Mexico and Nevada and what is the other state there? I'm not sure what it is now. But they have Pueblos there that are designed in the shape of a computer chip was made before we had computer chips. Isn't that bizarre? Well, no, because the standard is the standard, and that's what Daniel was saying, that all around the world we're building these buildings in the shape of computer chips, and that's they've been doing that for hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years. So go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, hundreds of millions of years.
Yeah.
I mean, the civilization on Mars, one of them, that were there and stuff, that was X'd out 200 million years ago by atomic explosions above the two cities, on the Martian surface. That was 200 million years ago.
Right.
That time frame is just beyond like even the 10,000 or 15,000 or a couple of thousand decades, like 40,000 or whatever that people normally go into. This story of the human species it's so long and it goes back so far that you're going to have to completely throw out time itself, because the time scale is just so large and so big that it's just absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And see, that's they don't want you guys to realize that. That's why most of the narrative they try to paint us as, they're just now barely saying, okay, maybe we're 12,000 years old. They still won't admit that the Sphinx has to have been sitting where it is for somewhere around 75,000 to 125,000 years. It wasn't built 3,000 years ago. There's too much water erosion on it. There's not enough rain currently during their monsoons to have eroded the Sphinx and the area around the Sphinx as much as it has. I've done a complete show on that, and Brian Forrester also did. Okay, so there is, according to experts, the amount of erosion could only have happened to the Sphinx currently where it is sitting if the area that was built in when it was built was a lush tropical rainforest. We know that has been a desert for 75,000 years. So that means that the Sphinx was built prior to that and was eroded for many thousands of years in a rainforest. Then the climate changed and it became a desert and there was less rain. So there's still some erosion, but nowhere near the amount that it could not have happened the way if it was built 3,000 years ago. It could not be eroded as much as it is, period. They would have to have the 40 days of flood. 40 days and 40 nights of flood from the Bible happened for 100,000 years. Actually, they said it was for 90,000 years or 80,000 years for that to erode that much. So it was in a tropical rainforest for 80,000 years before it was in a desert for 75,000 years. Let's do the math. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's a very long time, But like I say, those who seek power over others, they've already lost the war. They can slow down the flow of information and they can slow down the communication process, but they can't stop the flow of information ultimately, so the truth is always going to come to light. It's always going to break the surface, and it's far more powerful than what they're ever going to be, and like these people are just trying to hide all of this.
Yeah, they're trying to keep the knowledge away from you out there, everybody. If you don't know it, you don't know a thing. You don't know a thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to break the surface anyway. Yeah. That's what truth is. It's eternal. It's never going to die. It's never going to be, it's never going to be destroyed. It's consciousness. Energy can't be destroyed. Right. And energy, is just the movement of consciousness. The underlying force is consciousness. Energy is moved via consciousness, which is the original thought and stuff. So if you can't destroy energy, you're definitely not going to be able to destroy the force that's powering truth, which is consciousness anyway. So it's it's great. And in this world there's enough resources for people to have abundance their entire lives, including all of those yet to be born, and that's till the end of time as well. So, problems in this world, then, they're nothing to do with population or, lack of resources. It's just mismanagement of those resources as well, while we're in this world.
And they're doing it on purpose. I mean, look at the, we use fossil fuels for, to drive our vehicles. And you have this group called OPEC, which is all the major contributors that manufacture the oil and refine it into gasoline. And they just decide let's see, the prices of gasoline have gone down. Let's slow down production of the oil so we can raise the price of the oil barrels so that people who are refining it into gasoline have to pay us more, and then they charge more at the pump so we make more money. Then when they get to a point where people stop using the gasoline because it's too high, then they increase production, lower the price, and then the people lower the price at the pump, and then people start buying the gasoline again and start traveling.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to freedom, you have to realise that freedom itself is a living process, so they must be directly involved, in it to create and to maintain it as well. You've got to be very vigilant for your freedom. You've got to be very on the ball, and it's all about presence, like I said earlier. How present are you to yourself? How present are you to others? Because if you're not present to yourself, how can you be present to others anyway? And that's the full thing that separates the full spectrum of life, within this world and the multiverse as well as a whole. And I was going to say as well, the second book after Raising Eden, which covers everything, is called Raising Eden Volume 2, Wisdom of the Singular Truth, and that book expands on the first book, which covers all things, but it actually it's very meaty as well. It's got a lot of spiritual knowledge in there. It's got very, very powerful direct spiritual knowledge that you can use as soon as you read it. So you can use it every day. As soon as you read it, you can start using that knowledge to understand things and understand the universe better, understand how it's constructed, understand yourself, understand all of your your pillars of life, all domains of yourself as well, because it covers all of that. But the focus of all of my work has always been direct spiritual empowerment, and sparking that inner divine spark, because ultimately I'm just a guide to guide you into your own self, to guide you into your own power. It's you who's got to do the work. It's you who's got to put in the focus, the time, the discipline, the consistency, and that's the same how it is for everybody, because it's a personal journey. And that's one of the reasons why there's not going to be any alien races coming down here to save anybody, because they don't do that. Benevolent races do not do that.
And that's also why there's not going to be any alien race coming down here trying to conquer us either. You guys have to realize that we have to give them that control. We have to say yes. I wanted to point out really quickly that Nicole had said, or a comment to what you were saying, being who we are is more important than what we do. Yes, I wanted to point that out. Absolutely. Being who you are is far more important. I tell people that all the time, but I wanted to point out one thing that Daniel just said. He said he's a guide to help guide you. And that's very important, his wording in that. And people, you guys need to understand that as well. When anyone he says, talking about myself, I never say I'm teaching you anything. I'm not a teacher. I'm a guide. Anyone who says, I will be your teacher, if they're using that word, that means that they're in service to themselves and they think they own something that you don't have already. And the truth is, you already have it. You just need to find it within you. Am I right, Daniel?
Yeah, because it's not just the word teacher, because you have an inner teacher. You have the singular truth inside yourself, the divine spark, that you need to create a relationship with. And that's all you need to do. You need to create a relationship with your higher self, because people enslave themselves, and all one must do is to be fully present to themselves and to others and to the reality in which you find yourselves, to be truly free in any moment. And it's never too late, Every moment is a new opportunity. Every child born is a new hope, basically, to free this world, free yourself. And I was going to say, the third book, Raising Eden, Volume 3, that also covers everything as well, and it ties up all of the loose ends of not only the last 13,000 years of work, sorry, not 13,000 years, 13 years of work, Although it's felt like 13,000 years because I feel like I'm
well,
just
time's
carrying on.
relative, right? I mean, here in the third density, we have linear time, but if you're transitioning outside this density, you start seeing time as just present, past, present, future, present, right? Did we lose you? Okay, I got nothing from your audio, buddy. Well, we'll wait and see if he comes back. He may have gotten bumped off. We'll find out what happened there and where he's at here. Let me check on the thing over here because it says we're still up, Danny, but I got nothing from you audio-wise. So we'll see if the call failed, guys. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Or maybe we'll have to call him back and see. Yeah, the call failed. Let me go over here and see if I can dial him back up, all right? We'll see if we can get him back here. He powers that should not be. Coming up on the 2 hour mark anyways, but we'll see if okay. Might take a second. He might have something, hopefully his computer before it was shut off on him and he got before it went down, so he's so I apologize for that. Technical difficulty could be the powers that should not be. It's very possible. So we'll go ahead and try and hold on, let me redial it again, give him the benefit of he had to turn his computer back on. So we'll see what happens here. So okay, so what we were talking about while we're waiting for Daniel. So that's my train of thought because he got me derailed. So getting back to the stuff that they're doing to us on purpose because they want to separate you from your true self. They want you to yourself, and they want Hold on, I'm going to try and answer. We'll see if that goes through. Okay, you there, buddy? Hey, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Just chopped up.
Let's see if they can hear you. Hold on, I have to switch the camera over here. Can you guys hear him out there? They may not be able to hear you.
Yeah, that was strange.
That was, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's been like that's like the second thing like tonight, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if they can hear you, so because I'm trying to pull you over there, and it doesn't seem to be wanting to pull you over there. So, so we may have to call it anyways. And I'll just have to let them know. They can hear me, but I don't know. Somebody in the audience, let me know if you can hear him. I have Danny back, but I don't know if you guys can hear him. So somebody out there, let me know if you guys can actually hear him or not. As I'm trying to pull him back onto the show, but it seems like there's hold on, they got comments here on my screen didn't scroll, so I apologize, guys, for that.
That's weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, so even my monitor over here is doing that. So you can hear both of us? No, it says no, we can hear both. So you can, right? Tell me yes, you can hear Daniel.
Yeah, that's good. If they can hear both of us, then it's fine.
Yeah, it seems like they can now. Okay, so good. So as long as you guys can hear both of us, we're good. So I apologize for that. It looks like he got dumped for a second there, and sorry, because thank you, Omar messaged me independently and said, no, we can hear you guys both. We're good. All right, so I apologize for that. He got booted there for a second, and then I tried to call him, and it wouldn't. So finally he called me, and we were able to get back on. So now we got him back. So just like earlier when we first started the show, if you guys weren't here for that, when we first started the show, the powers that should not be started knocking the signal down. I was having red, like right now I'm fully green, and we dropped 1,872 frames, which right now is only 9/10% of the entire show. But at the time, it was 25% of the frames that were going out to you guys were being interrupted, and then his computer tried to turn off. So it's just that kind of stuff. is the weird thing that is going on, and then at least we got him back. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue with what you're saying. I know we're at the 2-hour mark. I mean, we can, if you want, we can stop here, or we can continue for a little bit longer, whatever you want to do, because it's my show. I pay for it.
Well, I have a lot of energy anyway, and I just like keep going anyway, really, because I mean, I talk for days, weeks, months, years, decades,
Right, decades, right? That's like me. Yeah, if the energy's right, let's keep running, right? Let's keep running with it. So, just go ahead and continue where we picked up. If not, we'll just pick up a spot and start. Now let's continue with your book.
All right. Well, book 3 is Raising Eden, Volume 3, Wisdom of the Ascendant, and I'll just read the back cover, which is what it's about. So it says, Raising Eden Ascendant, Book 3 of the Raising Eden Wisdom Trilogy, was created to heal the human condition, heal all life, heal the earth, and bring resolution to some of the big questions that plague humanity and all beings of good heart and nature. The future of Eden is in your hands. Use the wisdom well, for it was meant for you, and now you have received it. And that's what I wrote on the back of the book. But the Raising Eden, like I said, it's been a legacy that's been going since 2008, and it's going to continue to go, because this is my life mission. This is my life's work. This is why I'm here, to create this. Not only did I do the books on YouTube and seeded the knowledge into humanity over a decade ago, during the 3 waves of consciousness, which is, you say consciousness comes in waves, it does. One was in the summer of 2008, a big awakening for a lot of people. One was in the winter of 2010, which was another big awakening for many, many people. And a third one was in 2012, during towards the end of they call it the main calendar, but the Mayans never built calendars. It's a time meter. A time meter of creation that shows the evolution of consciousness, through space and time. That's basically what it is, because there's no such thing as a Mayan calendar, it never was supposed to be that. But, that's what they say. But the Raising Eden trilogy, all in all together, it flows like one big long story. There's no chapters in it. It just flows like what, because, like Bruce Lee says, be as water and flow. I personally, my spirituality is fluid awareness. I live in the fluid awareness of the heart. I don't need solid mind structures. I don't need labels. I don't need, ideas from the mind to be able to guide and, to be able to go through life. I operate through life through the domain of feeling. And it's feeling that guides me in every way, and that's what I'm always listening for. When I go into stillness and meditation, I'm listening to what the will of my higher true self is saying, so I know what to do. So, it goes into what we were saying about diet and stuff, about choosing what to eat. Don't just decide, I'm going to be vegan, or, I'm going to do this or do that or do that. You don't even need to think about it. You just need to feel what your body needs at that time, because the more you go forwards, the more you'll find naturally that you do want to eat a lot less meat anyway, or certain foods, and you won't want to eat certain foods, because the body always tells you exactly, what's good for it and what's not. And that comes not only with things that you put into your body, like food internally, but it's also externally as well. What people you should be hanging around with, or what you shouldn't. You know where you should be going, where you shouldn't be going, and sometimes when there's like very, very harsh environments that people want to go to, for no reason, really, or just to have a holiday. Sometimes it's a bit silly, because the very wise only go into environments if there's a purpose to go to that place, like a true purpose. Otherwise, they wouldn't be seen dead there, if you know what I mean. So it's that kind of thing. But, the Raising Eden thing, it's all available on Amazon. It evolved from the Raising Eden YouTube series that was in 2008. The book trilogy, I produced it over 2016, 2017, and then I released it, round about then, one by one. But it's just like one big flowing story, really, altogether. It's like 1,700 plus quotes of original high wisdom that absolutely covers everything. It's like a mini Vedic text, basically. It was inspired by a lot of Vedic texts as well, and texts of the Druids and stuff as well. It's all imbued into this book trilogy, and also some of the best wisdom from all over the world, from different ages as well, because I wanted to put some of the old ancient knowledge directly into the book, from the past, from like 10 to 40,000 years ago, because I wanted to make that wisdom living wisdom again, to put it into the hearts and minds of people, so it becomes living again by people living it every day and through their actions, and it becomes alive within the world again. It adds into our DNA, because it's very important, and there's a lot of knowledge that's always lost in in the world that should be used and utilized. So it's
right.
Preserving that.
And music is that way as well. One of my favorite songs I've ever heard in my life was played on a hurdy-gurdy, and a lot of people don't even know what that is, which is an ancient, in and of itself instrument, and it's becoming more popular again now, and people are starting to build them and use them. But the one particular song that I heard was written in the 1500s, played on a hurdy-gurdy, and it's one of the most beautiful sounds, most beautiful songs I've ever heard in my life, and I would never have heard it until someone posted it and said, "Look at this! This is literally from the 1500s." And then I actually found other stuff that you can find on YouTube and other places, which is the internet's beautiful for, where people have preserved stuff and they're playing songs. There was one that was played on an instrument that I don't know the name of it, and it was from ancient Greece, and they actually still had a song from ancient Greece, and they played this. So we're looking at what is that, 4,000 years ago, and they, and they're playing that, and it's beautiful. So I agree, and I think that that's why I wanted to interject that, because there's so much of our past that is so much knowledge and beauty and wonder that they're trying to stifle everything about. They want everything to be about the now. So learning about our past is our future, because there's so much beauty and love that's out there in music-wise and in wisdom, and they're trying to keep all of that from all of us. So I just want to interject that. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. The universe is music. Everything is communication. That's what it is. And the purpose of war is to disrupt all communication. So that's what they try to do. They try to distort reality, and disconnect you from the true reality.
Really quickly, Elena said she's having a hard time trying to find your book in Portuguese. She's over in Brazil. So
my books currently are just only in English. It's just an only English version at the moment, because they're quite new. They haven't had time to go into other languages.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you still have any of the videos that you were talking about? They deleted all those on you, didn't they?
Mostly everything's gone, because but I do have a few thousand of my videos stored on hard drives and stuff that I will upload again. All of my series, most of them, apart from 2 different series, I couldn't save them in time. Like one of them went down because it just got deleted too fast. I couldn't save it.
Well, once he gets those reposted, guys, like my videos, you can I make sure that when I post them on YouTube, that I click the button so that anybody can use the alternate language in any language, so they'll put subtitles up at the very least. So I'm sure when he gets that back up, if you don't end up finding the book, when he gets that back up, you'll be able to click on that on his videos, and maybe they'll do that, because I do that on mine, so people can watch it in other languages all around the world. So go ahead.
Yeah, because it's a lot of work when stuff keeps going down, you see, because you've got to keep the same thing. And again, unless you get help, you can't. I haven't got that much time to be able to put into specific different areas, and I actually don't speak Portuguese or anything, so I need help to do that anyway and stuff, in the future at some point. And the same with any languages, but like with Raising Eden, the series, that other people actually, they loved it so much they actually put it into those languages themselves, if you know what I mean. So it's good.
I have people doing that over in the Czech Republic. They take my video and they actually put subtitles on it, so the people over in that country can actually watch my videos. And that's when I went back to my videos and started clicking and making sure that feature was on so they could do that. But yeah, they were translating my videos and putting subtitles up and then playing it for their people over there so they can watch my show. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I did. I mean, if you go on the internet now and you look in Raising Eden on YouTube, you'll find Russian versions. You'll find versions of the series that's been uploaded by other people. I've uploaded it about 1,000 times over the years, and it keeps going down and down and down. Now it's got its own channel as well that I uploaded it to. I'll upload it to my Divine Intelligence channel again, because like I said, I'm going to dump and upload all my videos to that again. But that will probably only be up there like a couple of months or anything anyway, before they destroy it again or anything. But one of the reasons why I wrote my books and why I do radio is because it can't be destroyed.
Right.
The radio, the grassroots kind of level of doing stuff, one person by one person. I don't mind. I'll do that. One person at a time. It makes no difference to me. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. I'm used to it. So I'm just going to keep doing it. And these books, all of them, they're available on Amazon. Amazon is where you can buy the Raising Eden wisdom books. Raising Eden, Wisdom of the Eternal, Raising Eden, Volume 2, Wisdom of the Singular Truth, and Raising Eden Volume 3, Wisdom of the Ascendant. They're all available on Amazon, and it's all wisdom simplified form. It's in simple language, so it's you can get fully empowered by it easily, and it's not like complicated or anything. And refine the language down as much as you can. There's no other possible way that you could refine language down so simply to be able to do it. And that's because I take God as an example. God the Creator, and He creates everything. It creates, that force does everything very, very simply. It creates everything simple, in order to be able to reach maximum potential and have a wide scope and a wide berth, if you can say it like that. So it's good. But in the future, the Raising Eden, these are just foundation stones for what's to come as well, because in the future there's going to be more books. I'm going to create communities, of high light all over the world, on every continent. That's where it's going to head to, and that's where it's going to go in the future. That's basically what Raising Eden is going to be, and that's what it always was going to be. And even when I first created my first YouTube channel, I knew what the entire plan was going to be. I just obviously didn't know the details of how it was going to come about. That reveals itself through life, and you don't really know the full plan of the Creator until you get to your end of your life. So most stuff I don't even know, but I just know that all you need to know is you're going in the right direction, and you're doing the right thing at the right time.
Now, Rob said, I just want to interject real quick. Rob Ward said, so are you available for guiding one-on-one?
Yeah, I'm available for guiding one-on-one. I mean, that's one of the most important things, really, mentorship and mentoring people.
I was going to say, if you weren't, I do that. I actually have 3 groups, Rob, where I have a team of people that we do that. So, but I would say if you want to work with Daniel and he'll work with you, then definitely do. And if you don't have time or he doesn't, then let me know, because I have a whole group of people. That's what we do. So go ahead.
Yeah, because mentoring is a very, very important thing. Everybody in the world should have a mentor. It should be something that's actually within the culture itself. There's 2 cultures within the world. One of them's a culture of death, blood sacrifice to the demons and demonic forces. The predator consciousness of the abyss. That kind of thing. Then there's the culture of life.
Really quick, I wanted to point out what he's saying right here, and this is, I know he's usually more humble and doesn't want to talk about it. There's been 2 people in my life that have guided me as a mentor, that if without meeting these 2 particular people, actually 3, without meeting these 3 people and taking their guidance, I would not be who I am today. And Daniel is one of them. I've never said that to him, but I think he's known that. Without his wisdom, I wouldn't be where I am now. And me meeting him when I did a couple years ago and talking to him inspired me to raise my consciousness. And then Bill Van Horn, who you guys have heard from on my show, when I started Ancient Aliens Worldwide, he got in my group when we had like 58 people, and now we have like 128,000. And he was one of the founding members and one of the think tank, and so he was an administrator there, and we talked endless hours. He and I spoke, and then he left, and he was on his journey and doing things that he did, but he's now back. He's not in the group anymore. I think he's still in the group, but we still communicate now, and I let him know that on one of my shows as well. And the other person is Josie. I think her last name is LaPlante. I'm not sure how you say it. She's a really good friend and also administrator that works with me and helps me on a lot of my groups. Without her, I would have never learned the Law of One or learned about it, even though I was living my life that way. So mentorship, and this is, I wanted to point that out to Daniel and give him his kudos, that mentorship is very important for us because that's why I'm here, and that's why he's here. So, and that's how he got here. Somebody mentored him, am I right?
Well, I wish I had a mentor.
Well, see, well, then your mentor was you, or the one. You know what I mean?
My mentor was my higher self that I always had. I mean, everybody has a different life path, but there's certainly people who I see as heroes within the world, and who are like, there's a hero inside everybody, and a lot of people, call me that, and they give me those different positive titles as well through the years. That always makes me laugh and stuff. But like when it comes to mentorship, mentors offer you a quantum leap in your own evolution very quickly. So it's always important to have, and to set goals for yourself as well, because those who set goals are, even if you never achieve the goal, the fact that you have a goal will make you about 10 times more likely to actually be able to do it. And people who make goals are a lot more successful anyway. So even if you don't get to your goal, make sure to set goals within life as well. Just for the fun of it as well. And like when you become more awake spiritually, it's not just that you have to make levels of change internally, in your life and the way you live. They must change as well, externally, in response to what you've learned, because not making the necessary changes in accordance with your new awareness level, it's going to slow down your evolution, to the higher level of the beingness, basically. And living within a culture of life, on a microcosmic level, DNA needs to be set free, basically, and all life has DNA in this dimension, so all life must be set free. Life should never be caged nor fenced in. So, all that kind of stuff, and knowing that kind of knowledge, like I said, when you come to new awarenesses and stuff, you need to implement it. So if you know that animals in the world are evolving, and their souls too, which they are, we need to be stewards of the earth and animals, and not their masters, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And we need to look after them. We need to make sure that we don't create these, factories that just completely, destroy it. They're life-destroying factories, really, like torture facilities, basically, to create dense energy, for the Earth population. And remember what I said about evil needing a space in order to be able to go into. It's the food and it's what you put inside your body that allows all of these evil and bad thought forms to take hold of you. So your diet is very important for the health of your consciousness, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's absolutely. That's why we talk about ascension foods. The foods of a higher vibration are going to keep you vibrating at a higher rate. The foods of a lower vibration are going to bring your vibration down, which allows, like Daniel just said, the negative, evil energies to get into your thought processes, because you're susceptible at that point. And they know that. The powers that should not be know this. And that's why all the programming on television and the internet and everything is designed to keep you separate from everyone else. They want you staring at your smartphone. They want you looking and swiping right and swiping left, and they want you doing that and then eating garbage. And if they continue to keep you doing that, you'll stay exactly where they want you to stay, as a slave. Okay?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, the truth is that, the modern world pace, is a disharmony from the harmony of one. Politics, business, the human world has been constructed, to occupy minds, it's but an illusion, a pale reflection, a shallow shadow, an unhealthy, chaotic symphony. People themselves, they're real, they're the things that matter, so preserving, protecting, guarding and defending all life, not just human life, that's the most important thing, for everybody. And in my series Transcendence years ago, I was always talking about being a guardian, not just a guardian of the Earth and a guardian of the galaxy, which later Marvel turned into movies and stuff, obviously, Right. But I was saying all this stuff long before that, and a lot of the stuff in the occult Hollywood stuff like Stargate, a lot of the stuff that goes in the Marvel comics and the Tesseract and everything, and even some of the bad guys and stuff like Thanos with all his little different jewels and crystals and stuff. All of this is based on true occult science that was hidden from the masses and stuff. And the way they do it is it's all about your creational power, being a mini creator in the image of the master creator, they have to guide you into their reality, their fake reality, so they always produce and create movies with two different modes of operation. One's for your mind and one's for your subconscious mind. So everything that they release always has two meanings, and it's normally just the surface meaning that they talk about, but it's the hidden meaning that's the most important thing, and that's the thing that gets into your consciousness and your thought forms and creates an environment, a mental environment, a mental landscape. So, like when it comes to having more control of yourself as well, you've got to also be aware of what stimuli you're actually stimulating yourself with as well, and making sure that you're not overstimulated. Because if you're overstimulated on like movies and music and stuff, then it means you're at your capacity, and when you're at your capacity, then that means that your mind will naturally want to grab onto stability. So anybody that comes along that tries to save you or offer you something or another distraction, you'd always acclimatise to and stuff. So you need to make sure that you don't overstimulate yourself, and you stay centered, and you stay balanced, and you're just aware of not only what food that you eat and what you put into your body internally, but what you put into yourself on like on a mental level as well, and what relationships you have as well, because that affects the emotional body as well. So people need to really look into themselves and their own life on every level, and see all the binds that they have to different things, and the relationship with all things. So.
Right. I wanted to make a comment to Stormy, who made a comment in the chat. She said, let me go back here and scroll to it. She said, how do you go about finding a mentor when you live in the Bible Belt and no one around you within hundreds of miles share your beliefs? So you have to then learn alone. Well, see, you're here on the internet now, and you're using that internet, and look where you wandered into. So here's the thing: if you're down there and all those people are Bible toters, Bible Belt, and that's all they're about, and they don't believe in anything higher than that, come to us out here or in here on the internet. I literally have 3 groups where we help to guide people, to the higher learning. That's what we call it these days, because the religions work, even though they've been corrupted. But anyone who goes to them and starts opening your own mind, start thinking for yourself, you realize there's something wrong with all the religions, and that's because you're starting to vibrate higher. So how do you go about doing that? You look for us here. As long as we have this internet, then we can help to guide you. Okay, so I have groups. I'll link one into the chat. One of the largest groups that I have is it's not really big. It's only about 1,200 people in it, but we have people that come and go, because that's what we do. There is we actually guide you, and then basically give you the information that you need to then learn more about yourself, and then you go and do your thing. So we don't require people to stay in the group anymore, because if you don't need us, move on, because then you become a mentor to someone else, and you start helping everyone raise the vibration of the planet more and more. So I say to that, use the internet to your advantage, even if you don't choose us, to help you. Let me copy this link right now to my group, where we have a whole team. That's what everybody is there to do, is to help people do exactly that. So let me put that in the chat right here, and then we can move on. So go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, me personally, in Lincolnshire, in the Lincolnshire Wolds, where I am, there's no, highly spiritual people here either. I'm surrounded by nature and countryside, which is good anyway, because the countryside and nature is God's manifestation of the human body anyway on the outside. That's what the human body looks like. Mm-hmm. That's why going to the creation, you can find something that heals all ills within the human body, because nature itself is what we look like on the high realm. It's just that God's gifted it to us around ourselves. So we're basically ourselves within ourselves. Within ourselves. A dream within a dream, as Edgar Allan Poe would say. And I just wanted to say as well, when it comes to people have funny ideas. They've had too much mind about things. Like they think darkness is bad, and they think that negative energies are bad or something. but they need to understand that everything can be used for good.
Yep.
Like darkness is just it's another form of light. Light and darkness are the same thing. You know, it couldn't exist without the other because it's the same thing. It's just it's got less information within its within its structure than the that we see, which is luminous light. Luminous light, you know, is just a very small spectrum, you know, of what we can actually see, the visible light spectrum. And you know, most of it, 90% of it, is unknown or unseen. That's why you've got to operate, you know, through feeling and stuff, you know, of the world. And like when I was speaking on negative energies, you know, they can as soon as you can direct negative energies instead of them directing you, then it's good, because negative energies, if they direct you, instead of you directing them, only then do they become bad and destroy your soul. You know, if you're directing the energies of the negative, you know, which you don't want to do really, you know, too much, but what I'm saying is, though, you know, they direct them, and they don't destroy your soul. But if you don't do that, they will destroy your soul, you know, basically. And different energies as well, they're drawn to different places, you know, and if you feel a pull towards a different place or person, it's because, you know, they obviously offer you growth for your soul, and, you know, the place or person is something that you require, you know, or, you know, they have something that they require, you know, and in that case it's your destiny. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I ended up here tonight, actually, is because I felt that magnetic pull, you know, to be here tonight, which meant that I have to be here tonight because, obviously people need to hear some of what's being said and stuff for whatever reason. You know, or if I don't understand the reason, I don't know, but, you know, maybe it's tonight, maybe it's stored on the podcast list and stuff, and somebody's going to, you know, hear what's being said tonight and stuff, but it's going to have a profound effect. What I felt was, because I'm pretty sensitive to movements of energy, and that's how I go, it's going to have a profound positive effect on somebody somewhere, you know, in time, basically.
Right. See, so that's exactly, I agree with that. That's exactly why I do this, because I'd say always that if I can actually affect one person, you know, just like, you know, Raw said that, you know, when the LL Research Group was channeling, if one person can be affected by what I've said here, then I've done my job. So if that inspires only one person, we did our job. And if this is out there in the ether forever for people to find, who knows if our society survives 10,000 years more, this will still be out there and people will still find it. And so, you know, if in any way what we say does in fact inspire one person down the road, and then another and another, we have that ripple effect, like a pebble on a pond, and, you know, it just goes out from there. But I wanted to point out really quickly that Rob had said, talking about Jesus and his message, I want to get back to just really quickly and clarify when I said about religions where you know that there's something inherently wrong. The religion in and of itself, all of them out there, are not wrong. There, you can find the true path back to God in any one of those religions. Unfortunately, all of the religions have been corrupted by people who are trying to set up that caste system again, where you have the hierarchy in charge and then you have the peasants down below them. But the message is true. And I've had people ask me, well, do you think Jesus ever existed? I don't know if he was real. I tell them exactly this. It doesn't matter whether Jesus actually existed or not. The message that the Jesus character is telling you is true. So to ask whether or not he lived or when he lived is really not that important. What's important is what he is saying. Is it true? Is it accurate? Is it right? And is it going to lead me in a good place? Yes. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing comes back to the law of one, which is, I'm very, very happy that you've, taken it upon yourself and you started learning it and stuff and understanding it more and stuff, you know, because there's like a cloak around you compared to last time, you know, of knowledge of the law of one that's like wrapped over you, and you know, your beard's become longer as well and more powerful, like Gandalf the White instead of Gandalf the Grey.
Right, we talked about that off air. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and the thing is, people identify themselves with ideas and beliefs, and they identify themselves with different religions and stuff. They don't need to identify themselves with anything, you know, and that's one of the friction points of consciousness, one of the fracture points that creates all the friction. It's when people have identified themselves to their idea or their belief or the construct. There's only a construct to get you to a higher consciousness and higher place within yourself, and so you can share that with the world. But people identify with their religions, they identify with their beliefs, and when people point out their mistakes, or they point out what they've done, or they go against something that somebody believes in, the person themselves, because they've already made the mistake of identifying themselves with that thing, they see it as an attack upon themselves and an attack upon their body, when it's got nothing to do with that. You know what I mean? It's because the person themselves, who's religious or whatever, have identified themselves with their belief. That's the problem, where they need to be objective. You need to have an objective mind to gain true universal wisdom, within this universe. And that's the problem. It's the identity and self-identity and knowing yourself, know thyself. You need to know yourself. You need to know not only what's true and what isn't true, but you need to know who you are and what you're capable of and what you can do, and what others can do, and the potential in things as well, and that's how I navigate the world. Basically, I can feel the future potential of something right now. So before I engage into a relationship, I already know the outcome of that relationship before I've even engaged in the relationship. I know that it's got a vast potential. Straight away I'll know within a few seconds if that person's of the highest good, or if they're not, or what I can do. And I know that there's a massive potential there of what can be done together and of amazing growth. So straight away, when I bond and form relationships, I don't even put it into my mind. It's not even a mind idea. I always just follow my heart, and my heart tells me it either says yes or no. If it's a no, then I'll carry on, and I'll keep navigating the world like that. But if it's a yes, then I know that I can rely on that yes, because it's coming from that highest place in yourself, that singular truth, your higher true divine spark that is you. So that's how I navigate.
Right, and you kind of have to. I mean, I tell people that all the time. When you just give in to fighting the universe, stop doing that and give in to trust yourself. Trust that your higher self will guide you to the correct places at the correct time, and even above that, trust that that God, the One, will also get you to where you need to be at the proper time. And when you do that and you give in to and start living with nature instead of against it, you're going to find, that things you'll actually work better. Turn off your television and go outside and look around. Go to a park. Go to somewhere where it's not the concrete jungle. Go camping in the woods. Find these places and get back to nature, because you're going to realize that once you connect with nature, the whole purpose of them building these cities and trying to pass laws so that you can't make your own food is so they feed you what they want you to have, and they control you.
And create a space inside yourself to be able to go into. And also, it's two things I was going to say as well, like two ways to identify the singular truth in yourself is first, right? Look back through your life at all the decisions that you've ever made, and through that contrast, recognize everything that went right and everything that went wrong, and identify the singular truth, within from that. Because your one true voice, you can follow without question, 100% certain, all of the time, anywhere, and it will never lead you astray, because it is the living truth itself, and you have that inside you to guide you. So, just look through all your back through your life, all the decisions you made, and then through the contrast, you can learn to what it is. And first you have to find the voice of life, that's never lied to you within your life, which is the singular truth within, and then you need to listen to only that voice, and then cultivate it daily so that it becomes louder, stronger, and more powerful. It becomes the one unmistakable voice amongst all the other voices that are speaking. And then people have millions of voices within them that are mostly false. You need to go from that place of truth deep within, the singular truth, because only that has the keys to your destiny, basically, and your greater life, and your true purpose. And one of the other things is, people need to, make sure that the energy isn't too dispersed, because the more dispersed your energy is, the more weaker, confused and chaotic you're going to become. But the more focused, concentrated and present your energy, the more powerful and strong you're going to become. Because you really are a multi-dimensional being of pure energy, and it's that purity that you need to keep. And you can do that through food, you can do that through, making sure that you exercise and balance every day, having true relationships, doing your true life's work, creating beautiful things, beautiful art, music, books, whatever else you like to do, that benefits the world as a whole, and just, keep doing it. Never stop.
And always be honest with yourself, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean that's like number one. You can't do anything. None of the things you can't do anything that Daniel just said unless you're honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself first, and then you can love yourself. And then when you do those things, you're going to find that you're going to raise yourself and find your inner self, your true self, your higher self. And it's just going to happen. And then, like we talked about before, your food will change. What you eat, what you will listen to will change. You'll start watching the news media and realize how cartoonish they are, and how they're all lying about just about everything, and how all the programming is designed to keep you distracted. The millennials, the good thing about them, that generation, is that they don't watch television. The generation before mine, those people, my mother, she was born when television was invented. So she's grown up watching television, and she watches TV like it's her religion, and I can give or take it, but I turn on the news just to see what catch up on the soap opera, or the cartoons, as I like to call them. And then I go about my business, and I go on the internet and help people. Yeah,
it's, you are infinity incarnate. You're formless, multi-dimensional present being of light, so you've got to think that way, so, in life, be as water, be fluid, be ever-changing and non-static, your being's understanding, awareness and expansion rate, and capacity for truth, for the time, is what makes you you. Just be infinite, be open, don't be programmed. You're never going to be able to be programmed. If you're always fluid and always changing, you're not going to have any set structures within your being to be programmed. You're not going to have created any boxes to which or any programs aren't going to affect you. It's just going to come and go. It's going to flow. You're going to go through it. You're going to go over it, and you're going to replace it. It's like water. It's going to be cleansed, from your being anyway. If you live in a fluid state of infinite awareness, and you realize.
When they try those Jedi mind tricks on you, it won't work. Just like he just said, it won't work. They'll try to say these things that are trying to beat you down or lower your vibration, and or the ads or whatever, because it's all this stuff. It won't. You'll find that you'll realize it because you're immune to it now.
It's body identification.
Yeah.
It comes from self-identity, having a true identity of self, and not having one. If you know yourself, you can't be coerced, you can't be corrupted, you can't be destroyed, you can't be torn down, you can't be enslaved, you can't be imprisoned. Nothing. They can bring the full fury and force of what they want onto you, but it's not going to ultimately make a difference because you're stronger than them.
Well, here's a perfect example. I want to interject this because it was you touched on this before, and it brought up that memory. So I wanted to now that you did it again, I wanted to say it. In Hamlet, now we're talking about Shakespeare. In Hamlet, there was a scene where Hamlet was reading, and I don't know his name. I can't think of his name right now. He comes in and he's talking to Hamlet, and Hamlet's kind of not really wanting to talk to him. He's kind of being very curt with him, and finally he says, "Okay, I'll take my leave of you." And Hamlet says to him at that point, "There is nothing that you can take from me that I would not rather be more willing to part with, except my life."
Yeah, it's true.
Right? And so that plays into what Daniel was just saying. If you're confident and you are true to yourself and honest with yourself, and you know who you are, then that power that you gain from that, you can't be corrupted. You can't have. There's nothing that anyone can take from you that you would not be more willing to part with, because there's nothing they can take from you except your life. But when they do that, they can't take your immortal soul. So once you realize that, you can say, well, then the only thing you can do that would in any way benefit you would be to take my life. But that's just going to make me stronger, and I'm just going to come back, and you're going to lose anyway. And that's the dichotomy from Star Wars that they showed you in there, where when Darth Vader was going to kill Obi-Wan, and he said, if you kill me, you'll just make me stronger, and he allowed himself to be sacrificed. And by doing that, he martyred himself, and Luke saw it, and then that galvanized that whole thing. All of these are stories that I'm showing you that are playing into exactly what Daniel just said, and that other people were showing you examples of what he just said in movies, books. So there's people out there that are putting this information, like he said, no matter if they're trying to cover everything up, truth will always find its way back to being out there for people to hear. So they deleted all of his videos, and he just puts more up, right? And he just bided his time, and he's doing what he wants to do when he wants to do it, because he knows that he's going to make a difference no matter what. Am I right?
Yeah, and I've already made a huge difference anyway, with the ancient history thing that's spawned everywhere. That later on they create ancient aliens on telly. You've got this ancient aliens group, right. So I'm already living in the time when all of my battles have already produced seeds, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So for me,
it happens on a grand scale like that, and sometimes people don't realize that. I wrote a thesis in college, and I actually called it "Who Watches the Watchers." And it was a paper from my midterm, and the teacher got a hold of it, and somewhere along the line, it went out to the world, and the History Channel made a documentary called "Who Watches the Watchers." They used my entire narrative, and then added images to it.
Yeah, they do that. They've done it a lot with a lot of people. They've done it with a lot of my work and stuff. I actually sat down with somebody from Hollywood and brainstormed a lot of ideas for them and stuff, a long time ago. And I know that a while ago...
And then you see that stuff on the air now, and you go, I'm the one who told them that, right?
Yeah, and there's a woman called Sophia Stewart, this woman, and she created the Matrix and the Terminator movies, and she actually won in court as well, and she actually proved that she created the concepts and stuff before they stole them. And because they own all of the courts and the judges and everything, she still hasn't got what she should have got, which is she created the Matrix movies, she created the Terminator movies, and they were originally the same movie, and they split them off. Hollywood did, into two separate movies and stuff, later on, and gave them to their cohorts and directors and stuff to do. But she already won in court in America that said that the movies belonged to her and stuff. But still, because they've got so much money and they own the media, nobody knows much about it or anything. And it's actually really good. Sophia Stewart, this black woman in America, she's very, very good. And I know that, I can tell by the way she is and the way she's talked and the feeling I get from her that she was the originator of this stuff. She's very, very good. And she's got this thing that's coming out in the future, another book. It's called Matrix 4, and the Matrix 4.
And she was the Oracle in the Matrix movies.
Yeah, it's
part of that she wrote as herself.
Yeah, it's about the 4 as well. Matrix 4. It's about the future where man is on lockdown totally, from the elitists and stuff, and people themselves become their own judge, jury, and executioner, all in one. They have these inbuilt systems into their body, these biosuit things, that if they were to steal something, their hands would be sheared off and then cauterized there and then on the spot. If they tried to escape from the people they were trying to escape from, their legs would be sheared off and they wouldn't be able to walk or run anymore. And then they get cauterized again, and they get healed. And if they were to kill another person, in the system in the future, because the head would get decapitated, because you're your own judge, jury, and executioner, and that's her what come in Matrix 4. That's in the future for us. That's the way the elitists want to do things, because the futures that she's imagined within the Matrix and the other thing, the Matrix 4. And the Terminators and stuff, they're futures that are timelines that don't exist. Well, they exist there and then in the at that time, but she's seeing things that does exist. She's a seer, so she sees the parallel world. She sees the parallel timelines, and that's where she's getting a lot of the information from that she was getting to write all these movies in the first place. And the Matrix itself it's such a powerful movie that it's had a massive, profound effect on the entire species, already. And that's why that it's good. And with all the stuff that I've done, I'm already living within the age where it was too late for them. They took my stuff out too late. There's been an awakening. It's already happened. There's nothing they can do about it. It's done and dusted, and we're living testament to that as well. All of us here now.
Absolutely. And and hopefully we'll make a even if it's a small difference, hopefully we can inspire people to continue, because it's very important for people to realize that you are your savior. Just like you were saying, where they split that out in the movie, where you were judge, jury, and executioner, but they were showing that as a negative thing, and that was his point there. But what you need to understand is this: it's the opposite. People are still looking for Jesus to return. Jesus is not coming back. Jesus has moved on. You can channel him, but he's not going to come back here and save anyone. His purpose here was to show you that you are the savior. Within you are the one who is going to save yourself. And he tried to preach that when he was here, that you need to learn love. You need to learn the infinite love that is the infinite wisdom that is within you, because you're a part of everything. And that's what you need to learn. So we need to get away from these institutions that tell us, come here and give us money and pay a tithing and sit in this box and we'll tell you what to say and when to say it. That's the same thing that's going on in the news media. So you need to see that and realize that you have within you the infinite power of the entire universe to do or become whatever you want, and to gain as much knowledge as you possibly want. And it's there for you to just tap into and take it. Am I right?
Yeah, basically, like international business conglomerates and stuff, the shadow government, they try to keep all of this information, that can freeze humanity and, the condition of this world, hidden to a large degree. But they can't stop it coming out, Right. So they can't stop the flow of the information, and they can't ignore the truth, and they can't sway public opinion anymore much and create the disinformation for the masses, because basically, we've won, we are free, and we are the ones we have been waiting for,
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons as well that makes me laugh is, even before, there was a reason why I released all of the information about the ancient alien stuff, and even a long time before it became a show and stuff,
Right.
to then play that card, I forced their hand into all of this stuff because because I understand, I'm a seer as well. That's why, because I can see all simultaneous, timelines, as well as like some of the other people out there who are also seers. So I use it to my advantage.
Right.
I know there's no such thing as a random thought. I know that emotion always displays, in your mind's eye, as a common event that hasn't happened yet. So I always use information, from these future timelines in the present now to my own advantage, to uplift humanity and to create new timelines and shit, But like before even official alien disclosure is commenced, by the shadow government and ruling this earth and suppressing the human family, I've always known that they will first play the real ancient civilization card, and they have like a card game. There's an Illuminati card game, and most of the events on it actually occur and they actually happen. Like it showed 9/11 on there. It showed the Pentagon being blown up. It showed Trump being elected as president. It showed many other events, and through the decades that they've shown that these cards are actually accurate. So it was actually their plan all along. Somebody who had the blueprint released the information and the cards to the public, really. But what I was saying is, I've always known that they were going to play the ancient alien and the ancient civilization card. So I've always known their plans, so I can counter them ahead of time, if you know what I mean. So, they'll claim soon, that they've recently found ruins, and the ruins are being excavated, but the civilization who built them, the advanced ruins, is long gone and dead and extinct, so this will be done, to acclimise the population to their agenda, and also to people's fears about alien attack and alien invasion. as they will claim the people and the beings who built them, the ruins are long gone and pose no threat. But by doing this, they're going to set the stage on their own terms and try to steer the people their way, within their favour, and use, this agenda for their own, benefit. But this is, they'll use this card, as the marker. Use this card. Basically, what I'm saying is, use this card when they do that. Use it as the marker for the great deception that is to come. Because there's going to be a great deception, but use that card ahead of it to know when the great deception is coming. It's like a point in time that they're going to have to go through to get to where they want to go. So if you know where they're going to be going, the enemies of the human race and everything, you know where you can be, if you know what I mean. So the solution, to all of this, for me, the last decade and stuff, is kind of like the same as Stephen Greer, but doing it in a more sensible way. Not just opening your force up to these galactic, races and stuff, and being all like a fairy tale thing about it, and saying there's only positive beings here, which isn't true, and saying that there's no bad aliens and stuff, and opening people up to these forces in the galaxy. That's the last thing you want to do in a predator universe, because the predator universe is the exact same as the Earth. The Earth is, space is a macrocosm, it's a macrocosmic view, and it's a macrocosmic environment of what the Earth is microcosmically. So what's happening here today with all the enslaving and the free will and everything and trying to be free, that's the same as in the universe around us. That's going on there as well. It's not just a fairy tale place where all these beings are free and that they live on higher states of spiritual powers and stuff, and can fly around by thought and have telepathy and stuff. It's not like that. The real galaxy and universe, it's gritty. It's about survival. It's about beings have needs, physical beings have needs, and these beings and these groups out there, they have physical needs as well, and they require resources and energy to live. And if they haven't got enough, they'll take it from others, if you know what I mean, and that's including us. But the solution to disclosure, is very, very simple. As it is like acquiring and maintaining freedom on all levels. Live disclosure and the reality of the world you want right now. Give no power away any longer. Within all moments, or all moments here on after, you are the disclosure, be the disclosure, never go to a group of criminals, the dark ones, for the truth. You already have, the living truth within you right now. You don't need them. For the last decade, I've been building communities all over the world a little bit, with a group called The New Message, to allow, it's basically a group of people who know that aliens are already here. They know that they've been here thousands of years. They know the history of the alien interaction, and the intervention and stuff. And they know that, the building around, they basically had disclosure a long time ago. They know how it is. They're not relying on going to, the government to try to give them answers to stuff that they're never going to get. They're living the world they want right now. And it's very important that, like I said, when you gain new knowledge and insight, you live the life that you, that you should be living. Live the life right now. Don't wait. Don't hold back. Live it now, because in your living the life, not only you are creating an environment to empower others, and then like a sanctuary where others can go. But they can also see what you're doing and be inspired and motivated to, to do what they should be doing as well,
Right, so. Absolutely. And, and that's, I like that you said that the part about the, with the disclosure, we tell everybody now we're using the hashtag be the change, because the truth is I've learned so much with all of that, that I know for certain, 100% certainty that aliens are here. Aliens have been here. They've been here forever. They're in and out. They're back and forth, and there's communication with them. Right. I also know that right now that we have a quarantine. We have locked this place down so that aliens just can't come and abduct people like they used to do before. And it's not our people that put the quarantine up, because the people will have you believe that we had, solar warden, and that's what stopped the whole thing. That's not that they slowed it down because of that, because the aliens were abducting people. But now our government does it anyways, guys, and I know that's part that maybe we don't want to go into. But our government abducts our own people, and they make you think that it's aliens that are doing it. They also abduct our own people and sell their bodies for food. They also abduct them and sell them into slavery. That's something that we don't want to get into right now, because that's part of the atrocities that will come out when the powers that should not be are removed from power, which is just around the corner. But I wanted to point out that some of us have now gotten to that point where we just know this to be true, and we're just taking steps to continue doing what we're doing to give everyone back their choice, to give everyone back their voice, which they've been trying to take it from you for so long. So you have to live in yourself, but still ask questions. Always question everything. Don't believe anything that Daniel said here. Don't believe anything that I've said here. Take that as well, those guys believe that. Let me look into it myself. Eventually you'll come right back to Daniel, you'll come right back to me, and you'll say, I went off and I didn't believe you guys, and guess what? I came back here because now I know, I've learned, and now I have experienced, and now I agree with you. You'll grow really quickly if you look around. The more you question, the more you look around. That's why I say to people when someone says, well, should I listen to this guy or that guy or this guy? I say you listen to every single person. Don't let anyone tell you don't listen to them. Just listen to everything that everybody says and make up your own mind, because eventually you're going to make up your mind the correct way, because you'll have to choose where you're going to be a good person or not. And if you choose a path of a good person, pardon me, I'm getting phlegm again, then you're going to start unlocking these memories that you will gain and this experience that is you within you. And as you go down that path, you'll end up right where I am. You'll end up right where Daniel is. You may already be past us. Okay, it just depends on where you are in your path at this particular moment. So I wanted to interject that really quickly, because don't, question everything always. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, basically, in the world, you're going to create what you see. The world is a reflection of what you allow yourself to see, and you create what you allow yourself to see. So if you see a chaotic, uncertain, and random universe that's devoid of purpose and meaning, then that's what your lens of perception is going to be aligned for you, and that's what's going to be true for you. But however, if you see a vibrant, living universe, birthed from love, the magical, conscious, living universe and multiverse in which we exist, that's what basically reality really is, and that is what you're going to see, and that's what you're going to get. The living, conscious universe, it's indiscriminate, because it's a mirror, for your projections. And we are mini creators in the form, in this form, human form, but we are also in the heart. The heart of each person is a star as well, a true star, not a fake Hollywood star or anything, but an actual proper star with a lot of power and influence, not the fake influence that they try to create their own stars to have, to again take you off your true path on where you're going, and to idolize and stuff, which we don't need any of that, because it's not real. None of it's real. Hollywood's not real. Like I said earlier, you've got to identify and discern what's true and what isn't true within this world, because like I said as well, evil isn't native to this creation. It's like a disease. It's come into here first through the mental environment, and then through the mental environment, through free will and stuff, it's created spaces for itself to live, dark spaces, to which it can expand out of, politics and religion, and now it's gone pretty stupid with all this political correctness stuff. That's an extension of further distortion from the politics of, the criminal mind, in of itself. And the distortions are just going to keep getting worse and worse and more extreme as, the more you go. But in that environment, you've got to disengage from it and engage more in, truth and, the true you, and get away from that, So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're coming up on 3 hours. Maybe we should go ahead and call it here, just because we will start losing people if we go 4 hours. We've noticed that 4 hours is a long time for people to tune in. So even on the podcast, the podcast, it doesn't matter as much with them, because they're listening to it as they drive or at work or wherever they're at. So they tend to stay longer and not have a problem. But the people live on Facebook, 3 hours is kind of a long time to sit in. So. I put up in the chat. We put up where you can get Daniel's books. If you go to Orion Rising, my page, I pinned it. Or actually, Omar did. So thank you, Omar. He pinned it to the page there. So the link to Amazon to Daniel's books is up on the page, and we'll leave it up there for a few days so that you guys can actually, those of you who hear this on podcast, you'll be able to then go to the page and click on it and get that link up. And it looks like Daniel went down again. Let me get over here and answer the phone over here. All right, we're bringing him back up. Now, are you back, buddy? Sorry about that. You must have dropped again, yeah?
Yeah, I did.
That's crazy. I didn't realize you were gone until you rang me. And I said, oh, he must have dropped again. Let me go back over here and answer the phone. Okay, so I pinned up the link for his books on my page. You guys can go and find that there. Also, we posted in the chat his YouTube channel. In the chat for those of you. So if you're listening to this on podcast, you'll have to go to Orion Rising, the page on Facebook, so that you can get those links. But his books, link is Amazon, and to buy his books, and also the links to his show on YouTube, and that's also in the chat here. So for those of you who are watching this, you can just scroll the chat back and forth and find that, because we have that in here. Both of those are posted for you guys to be able to find Daniel when he's not being interviewed by me, because he has he's been doing this longer than I have, and he's been far bigger and a bigger audience than I have. So okay, thank you, my friend. Thank you very much, and we'll have to do this again, because as usual, we can talk all day and never really cover the same ground twice, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been conscious of not doing that. I've always tried to do different ground, if you know what I mean, like cover ground, like things I spoke about before. I didn't want to speak about them again too much, if you know what I mean. So I've kind of like in that.
Which is fine. That's absolutely, if you guys want to hear more about his books, if you don't have time to grab his book, go back and watch the show, because we did 2 shows, and he actually described and talked about in detail his books a lot more than he did here. So you can do that and then get an idea. And if you have the video, if you're watching this and watching the video, you've seen excerpts right out of his books, quotes that are literally on the pages of his books, and which book they came from. You've been seeing that through the entire show. Those of you who are hearing this on podcast, you didn't have that benefit, and you might want to take a look at that stuff, because it was very inspirational, and you'll understand when you start reading some of that stuff. Okay, so do you have anything up and coming? You were talking about possibly we're working on another book. I know you're working on your YouTube channel, so let everybody know what they can expect from you going forward.
Well, I mean, going forwards, it's I'm working on my 4th book, which is another book of high wisdom and stuff. But obviously, because these books are so refined, and I don't create it or construct it with my mind, I have to get into a specific meditational state, and it's the right time. Like I hear the calling, and then I'll receive the wisdom, and then I'll write the wisdom down. So a lot of the time when I write, it's actually like the middle of the night, and I've just been woken up, and I get like bursts of quotes every 15 minutes. And it's crazy. Sometimes I'm writing these. I was just up like 4 hours in the middle of the night. Every 15 minutes I'd receive a quote and I'd write it down. I mean, this stuff's coming from my higher self, the true me. It's not coming from any, collective consciousnesses. It's not coming from Pleiadians or angelics or anything else. It's coming from me. It's just the higher part of, me, if you know what I mean, the true me. So I get to write it down and share it with everybody. But yeah, my 4th book's slowly coming together. It's been coming together for, about 2 years now, and it'll probably be a few more years yet, like the 4th one and stuff, because you can't rush these things, like something this profound and powerful, you're not able to rush it, it comes whenever it comes, it's like everything's got its own time. It's like a flower that will just, it'll come, when it wants, like a baby or whatever. These are basically my babies.
I agree. When I write, in fact, I have 3 books out there, guys. Orion Rising, the name of my show, is actually a book that I wrote, and you guys might want to take a look at that. That's also on Amazon. And then I have books on survival, prepping for beginners, and I also have a book called How to Get Out of Debt, Surviving in the 21st Century, and that's about the global banking and how corrupt it is, and giving you what the system really is and how fake it is, and that's a whole other show. But I agree, when I was writing, and I said this, I don't know if I told you this before, when I was writing Orion Rising, I'm going along, and what I do is I turn on classical music and I put on headphones, and I just go with the ebb and flow, and the stuff comes to me, and I know that it's coming from my higher self. And the thing that surprised me and made me aware that was happening was, as I was writing, and I'm writing stuff in chapter 1, and I get to chapter 5 or 6, and I'm thinking, oh, now I'm taking this storyline here. And that, you know what, I kind of set that up in chapter 1. I better go back, because now I need to make changes on chapter 1 so that it fits now and makes sense. And I go back and reread it and realize that I had already set that up for myself. I did not know I was going to write that at that time, but subconsciously from my higher self, the part that I wrote in chapter 1 was already set up the right way for me to be able to make that, to do that, whatever it was that I was doing in chapter 6. And I went, wow, how did I know that about myself? Well, obviously it's because when I write, I literally see a movie in my head, and I write down what I see. And I'm also writing my 4th book, which is completely different, because Orion Rising is a sci-fi fiction about ancient aliens, which is actually true. So when you read it, it's actually really true. But for those people who don't believe in aliens but love sci-fi stuff, they're going to love the book. And if I ever make the movie out of it, which I have a script out there in Hollywood now for a television show and for a movie for my books, when you realize that, and when all the stuff does come out, and disclosure does happen 100%, you're going to realize that when I was writing that it's actually what's really happening right now. So the next book that I'm writing now is more on the spiritual level, and I just wanted to cut in with that, because Daniel said it sometimes these things evolve over time. The book that I'm currently writing, I've been writing for probably 10 years. And I've always started it, and I get into it a ways, and I go, we're not ready for that now, and I leave it. Then I come back and I do a little bit more. Then I leave it, and I come back, and now I'm being told from the other side, now is when you need to start focusing on that. And so I started doing that, but then something said to me, wait a minute, and that's when this whole evolution of the Law of One and the other information that I've been gaining now, not just from my higher self, but from the Galactic Council. So now I realize that the book that I was writing needed to stop in the times that it did, because the time wasn't right for that information, and that I was told that between last October and now coming up through May, that I needed to stop writing that book, because of the growth that I was going to have in that time period was going to put me in a place to finish this book this year or maybe next year, and that I needed to wait for that information. And now I realize that, because of what I have learned just since October of last year. I realize now, if I would have tried to continue writing that book, the stuff that I would have said there, I would have had to have gone back and changed, because I know that in the place that I was in 2 years ago as opposed to now, 5 years ago as opposed to now, last year as opposed to now, was a completely different place. And Daniel even said that earlier in the show, that he sees the difference, since we haven't talked to one another for, I guess, over a year now, right? This is the last time we spoke.
I mean, there's been a big change. I mean, you was pretty spot on before, but now, like I said, you've got like this cloak of the law of one over you as well, that makes you even more, potent, concentrated, and powerful as well. Right. So, it's good to see.
Yeah. So thank you for that. All right, guys. So great show, and thank all you guys out there who stuck with us. A lot of you stuck with us to the very end. We had people coming in and out during the show, and some of you got here at the beginning and stayed with us all the way to 3 hours. I guess you guys kind of get used to when I do a show, because especially if Omar and I are together, we usually end up in 3 hours, 4 hour mark. That's just because a conversation like this with Daniel and I, we could continue this. We were talking like this for 35, 40 minutes before the show even went on air. He and I were talking off air. So, all right, guys. I have a show coming up on Friday. Now, you guys check the calendar. Every Friday night, we do the Law of One, okay? And we're doing session by session, breaking it down for you and talking about it and discussing it. The reason we're doing that is it's out there for everybody to read. It's free, and I can tell you how to get it. But no one is there to help guide people to understand the nuances of what's being said. And when I re-listen to this and reread this prior to when I'm getting ready for every show, every single time I go, wow, I don't remember reading that last time. So I get stuff. I'm still getting stuff out of this over and over and over every week. And I go back and then sometimes, things are getting to that point where I'm like, did I already cover this? Is this a deja vu? Because unfortunately, when you start getting to a higher place, and I understand now where Daniel's been since I met him, you start actually perceiving time in a different way. And sometimes you don't know if you're in the now or if this is from the past, because in your mind, you already remember this. But it's happening right here. So is this, and so there's that weirdness that happens. And Daniel's been, or when I first met him years ago, was already there. And I'm just now starting to reach that potential. And I'm going, wow, man, because I remember thinking, wow, to be where he is, to where sometimes you go, did we already have this conversation? Because I have a memory of it.
Well, I mean, the law of one stuff, that's basically the heart of my spirituality. That's what the singular truth is. It is basically the law of one. It's the exact same thing. But I call it the singular truth, obviously, because...
see, I just called it the way before because I didn't know. And in fact, if you go to Orion Rising, it's still up there as the way because I didn't know about the law of one, but I was living it.
Yeah, I also used to call it way of the water as well. That's what I used to call it on episode 52 of Raising Eden back in 2008. I called it way of the water, but it is the singular truth. Yeah. The singular truth is the law of one, and I've actually made a few YouTube videos on the law of one as well, and a lot of the law of one knowledge is actually within my book trilogy.
Really, you can't live life without having that knowledge in there. I mean, because it is true. I mean,
exactly.
The truth is, even when I didn't know or never heard of the law of one, I was living the law of one, and everything I was doing was that. I just didn't know until I read the law of one and went, oh, I've been doing this my whole life. This is what is true. It has to be, because everything is this. That's why we're doing the show. So catch that show, guys, on Friday nights. If not, the podcast will be up, and if not, you can check the archives on YouTube. We're Orion Rising, and you guys can watch these at your leisure. I have a couple other shows that I'm trying to schedule. I'll get those on the calendar on Orion Rising, the page, as soon as I get them scheduled. There's still 2 or 3 people that I'm working with. We haven't set up a time yet. All right, guys, so have a great day. Thank you again for being here. And like my page, subscribe to it. Like Daniel's page, subscribe to it. Like his channel, subscribe to it. Like my channel, subscribe to it. Then you'll know when we go live. And you guys can listen into what we have to say. And hopefully, in some way, we inspire you to go out and raise your vibration. And by doing so, raise other people's vibrations as well. All right, so thanks, guys. Daniel, again, thank you. Namaste, everyone. Have a good day.
All right. Cheers, everybody.